Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the U.S. alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow. Driving one of these big trucks is a woman who, if you met at a truck stop, you would see what you think is a tough but fairly normal person. But this truck driver is far from normal, but in a pleasant, caring way. Bonnie is an interstate truck driver, but when she gets home, her life is about her animals.
I rescued her. She had a broken leg when she was a puppy, and they were going to put her down, and I said, how much do you want? How much is the vet going to charge you to put her down? And he said, oh, $50. I said, well, I'll give you the $50 and take the dog.
Bonnie's ranch is far from ordinary. Let's start with the dogs.
I've had up to 50, but being that I'm driving truck all the time now, it's too much. 20 is a little much anyway. It's a lot of work. And I have a great guy that comes out here and works and helps me do stuff. You know, it gets monotonous. I mean, because, you know, you got some that when I'm gone stay in the house and they don't get out. So, you know, you have a mess to clean up. The guys, you know how guys are about doing that. But they do a pretty good job, I have to admit. But, because I got some really old girls in here that are in their, you know, 14, 15 years old. And they can't take this heat and they can't take the bad weather. So you just have to do what you got to do. He's the one that brought the bears home. This is Reno, and he is a giant schnauzer. This is not something that's happened just all of a sudden, trust me. I've been doing this, like I said, for many, many years. I don't think anybody could have enough dogs. I mean, dogs are your buddies.
That's the dogs, about a dozen of them. Next, exotic parrots.
You shut up. You shut up. What did I tell you about that, talking like that? Give Mama a kiss. You love Mama? Oh, I love you too. He's very intelligent. He can do all kinds of little things when he wants to, but getting him to do it's another story. It's like, you know, I don't have to, don't make me.
From there, it's horses, about 10 of them. And then an unlikely friend, a fully grown adult steer.
He's a very good pet. I probably could ride him if I wanted to, but he's a very good pet. Everybody thinks I ought to sell him, but I can't sell him. He's a pet. Shrek is a miniature mule. That's his mama right there.
Yes, that's a bear off in the distance, and its neighbors do eat a lot.
This is what the tigers eat. This is my so-called dispensary. They get chicken. This is what they're getting today. They're getting steaks, yum.
You heard right, tigers.
You have to try to give them variety. You have to give them chicken, you have to give them beef, pork, you give them horse meat. We do get deer in. This is the freezer for chicken. My people that work for me, so what I have them do is I have them take the chicken out and I make them look at the label for the weight and I tell them exactly how much I want fed every day. So for them to calibrate it, and then we have records that we keep on how much they eat, who didn't eat what today. Technically, USDA requires you to do that, but you know, I do it on my own because if something happens, I can go to the vet and say, okay, this is what this tiger's done all week long, and he has a better frame of mind of what's happening. This is what the bears eat. This is the bear freezer. We have yogurts, we have butter, we have creams, rice pudding, a little bit of everything. Their favorite, ice cream.
If you're getting a feeling that this is Noah's Ark, you are right. Bonnie is a serious animal lover. Just think about what all those treats cost. Her 2 American black bears were accidental strays. The 750,000 black bears in America kill less than 1 person per year, and attacks in captivity are rare. But is Bonnie at risk with her bears? The answer to that is more about how they are looked after rather than whether or not they're dangerous. Contrast that with 26 deaths by dog attack each year, although there are millions of dogs in the U.S. alone.
This is Bam Bam and Pebbles. They're about 4 years old now. They came to me. I have big black schnauzer he's a giant. They were following him, and I thought they were dogs, but they end up being bears. And once they got the bottle and realized what was going on, they became my pets. These are American black bears. Come on, show them how tall you are. Good boy, good boy. Come on, good girl. Oh, Mama, baby loves you. Mama loves you. I know. And these are my babies, and they've got really long claws, as you can tell, and they usually tear me up. There you go. Good girl. Pebbles, Bam Bam, stand up. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Hey, you're stealing them. Okay. They're stealing them. They're stealing them. Good boy. Yes, sir. Mama loves you. I love these bears. You can get in here and I can mess with them. Of course, you don't want to ever trust them because they show no sign that they're going to attack you. I have been bit, I've been clawed, I've been knocked down by them, and usually I carry a taser with me when I'm out here by myself so I can get up. And she's about as unpredictable as you can get. I've scared her and she's turned around and, I walked up on her too quiet and I've scared her and she came at me. But, it wasn't an attack. As soon as she realized it was me, she stopped. I can't express enough that these are wild animals and their mind can change at any moment. They can be killers in a matter of seconds if they wanted to. I have found with my experience with animals, exotics, domesticated, you feed them well, you take care of them well, you give them plenty to eat, they seem to be fine. When you start not feeding them and doing what you're not supposed to do, you hurt them, then they hurt you back. If you come at them aggressively, they're gonna come right back to you aggressively. Like if they're doing something and she's wanting to bite me, I just change her mind and go, no, it's okay. You turn the tables on them. And loud noises will scare them. There's times that, like I'm doing something and they're being nosy, if I don't want them around, I'll slap the side of the tank and they run. I'm not a bear expert and never claimed to be, but being with these, and these are my first challenge with them, I've learned a lot. It's been trial and error. I think they're doing good. I think I'm doing okay with them. Some people may say I'm not, but they seem happy to me, don't they, to you? They're very easy to take care of. I'm really surprised. I've offered them meat, I've offered them fish. I put 4 rolls of hay out there day before yesterday. Look how easy they mangled it. They go up in the trees, they get on them, they climb up on them. They get way up there. They come down to eat and to pick on me. Have you touched one? Come here. Bam, Bam. Come over here on this side, touch the butt.
These bears can be dangerous, but that is also part of their appeal. And this could be why predator pets are popular. The feeling of being with these animals is a mixture of fear and fascination.
I'm slightly worried now. Oh, he's licking me.
Oh, dinner. They're very strong. They can take a log and they can literally push it, move it wherever they want to. Oh, look at that. Is that good? When she comes in heat, she gets a little cantankerous and she can get pretty rough with him. But he doesn't show any aggression. He just does his own thing and gets in a different tree. Like a man, goes to a man cave. But this is my baby right here. This is my baby. Yeah. My main concern is keeping them where they're supposed to be, keep them fed, and like I said again, as long as you feed them well, they're not going anywhere. And these guys here can't go back out in the wild because they don't know how to feed themselves. So basically they're mine until I die, and then when I'm dead, I have a sanctuary that's going to take them, and that will take them and the cats. So they already have a place to go. This way people won't have to say, well, she's an old woman, where are they going to go when she dies? Well, there is a place for them to go. And it's a wonderful place. And they will care for them like I care for them. Been there a zillion times to keep on different times and make sure how they take care of their animals, and I'm very impressed. I don't know how long they're going to live and how long I'm going to live, so there we go. They stand on the edge, and this is what happens to my $500 stock tank. Huh? More toys? Huh?
For our crew, bears are one thing, but Bonnie's apex pets require a little more respect. It is estimated that there are more tigers in the U.S. than in the wild globally. Bonnie's younger tiger was born in captivity, and to Bonnie, he is just a big playful cat.
She's, just that playful teenager stage where everybody's a toy and everything we have is a toy. No, gentle. You notice how she has not hurt the dog? Mm-hmm. He hasn't yelped or anything? What are you doing with the water? That's called chuffing. She goes, what was that? Oh, don't run. No. Oh, are you okay?
The concern is what will happen when the big cat reaches maturity. Incidents of pet tigers killing people are rare, but we have to always remember they are an apex killer. So Bonnie, one way or the other, is taking a risk.
Ow! Yeah, there's a stick.
You want a stick, Bonnie?
Bonnie, here's a stick. No, I got it. No, you stop. Now, come on.
Ooh.
Don't bite my leg.
Not just with one tiger, her second one is a fully grown female.
Well, she came to me 7 years ago. She had ringworm and a yeast infection all over her hair, and she was pretty poor, but now you can tell she's magnificent. She's healthy, and she's not that she doesn't like that cat. She's just telling it to back off. But she's my baby, and I love her. Well, she weighs 450 pounds. I go in there and pet her, and I do clean the pen, do everything like I do with like I did with the other cat. But when people are here and the cameras, she gets bashful. So, and I think, she's back here in the back. She don't get a lot of people here to socialize with her. If she had more people to socialize with her, she'd probably be all over us. But really, she's a very good cat. She's not mean. She's not aggressive. When she's scared, you saw what she did. She kind of growls a little bit, but that's just to show you to back off. She's a tiger. Again, don't feed her. She'll eat you. I've only been scared of one cat in my life. I was in the pen with two cats, and I was against the fence like this, and they double teamed me. one come here and one come here. They've never hurt me, but it is definitely a feeling that, okay, this could be it. But otherwise, no, I'm not afraid of them. I mean, I should be. I mean, I'm very let's put that a different way. I'm not scared of them, but I'm very cautious of them. You can't, I don't know how to explain this feeling, but I mean, I just don't have the fear of them, but I know they can kill me. I know they can hurt me. I don't turn my back on them. I mean, I know what they are. I know that they can be an aggressive animal, and they can be friendly one day and be an idiot the next day. The thing is when you're feeding them meat, get out of the pen. Why do you want to be there? They're eating. If they're having a bad day, why irritate them? Leave them alone. Let them just go through their bad day. It's a sense you have with animals, If you have that sense, your chances of getting hurt is minute, But if you're bullying them or doing things and you don't pay attention, then you get hurt, and that's what usually happens with people. They're not for everybody, and not everybody wants them. They're a big expense. They cost a lot of money every month to feed. It's not that they're a lot of work, but you have to take care of them. You have to know when something's wrong with them. But that's the whole idea of owning animals anyway, isn't it? Oh, come on, Nushka. Come on, Mama. Come on. Anushka. It comes from Alaska, and it means the first ray of light. So that's what I thought of. And then Sunita, the little one's name, is a Spanish name for beauty. But those are my children, as children go.
The American bison is an unpredictable and at times lazy and unconcerned animal. They appear peaceful, but this large mammal has a temperament that is totally unpredictable. Bison roam the plains of North America in their millions. Hunting decimated their population down to less than 1,000 animals. Today, things are looking up. The population is growing, and to one family, a pet bison is the perfect house companion, even if the house is a little A-frame cottage on the plains of Texas.
People that don't know me think I'm crazy, and the people that know me know I'm crazy. I've been here for 31 years, and I've been training horses for a living, and I use buffalo or bison to train my horses with. Yeah, I was fascinated with them when I was a kid and never thought about even owning one. I don't think when I was young you could legally own a bison. They're a little on the crazy side, and most people that raise cattle don't want to mess with them because they tear your pens and stuff up. They're a lot wilder than a cow is, and they're harder to handle for most people, but if you know how to handle them, they're almost as easy to work as cattle are.
Sharon and R.C. are both extreme animal lovers.
We both have the fascination with bison. I'm not much for the little bitty dogs or anything like that. I like the wildlife. And that's one reason why R.C. and I, fit together, because we both like the wildlife. The more Western it is, the better we both like it. First time I ever saw a bison, of course, was R.C. I mean, in life, I've seen them on TV and all that, but first time was whenever R.C. brought some home to train his, cutting horses. After that, we decided to own Wildthing, and he became our pet.
Keeping a bison as a pet does have its challenges. They can weigh up to 2,700 pounds and run at over 30 miles per hour, and they can get a little grumpy.
A lot of times you got to go in the pen with them, and you got to know your distance and everything, because if you get too close, they're going to come after you, or they're going to run away. And if they don't run away real quick, they're fixing to come and get you. They're the largest land animal in the United States that's native to the United States. They can outrun any horse. It's always dangerous being around a herd of bison because you don't know when one's going to attack you. And I have had them horn my horses and knock my horses all the way down on top of me.
Oh, he's been off. He's putting it back in place.
I've been in that situation a lot. One particular cow one time come after me, and if I hadn't had a jacket, I threw it on top of her horns, and I got out of the pen while she was fighting the jacket. He got me down one time 3 times in one day, and my wife had to dress me for 3 days.
Hello?
He knocked me down. He was wanting me to be a buffalo and play with him, but I got to an axe handle and explained to him we didn't do that.
RC counts Wildthing as his pet and his companion on the ranch. This big bison is, at times, almost cute.
Wildthing, of course, you know, I mean, he's a little orange calf, you know, whenever we get him. He's about 2.5, 3 months old. And of course, RC's trying to halter train him and everything, and he conquers that. But then I have a brilliant idea, and I said, well, why don't we bring Wildthing in the house? Hello, Wildthing. And he says, you don't understand. He is a bison. He could tear up your house. You may not have nothing left. And I, well, you don't live once. You bring your cats and your dogs and your kids in the house, so might as well. So ever since then, we've been bringing Wildthing in the house, and he's grown up with us. He has lots of personality. Even though he's a bison, he's got personality. I mean, if he gets his feelings hurt, he goes and pouts. And you know when he pouts, because he just has that certain look in his face and the certain movements that he gives. Wildthing also likes to be pushy sometimes, but then again, Wildthing can be loving. Wildthing! Hello, baby boy. But only to RC and I. Only the past 10 years, I've been able to actually touch him and groom him. I mean, I'm always out there taking pictures of him and different things like that. I can wear fringe and wear big headdresses that I make with feathers. RC, he can't wear fringe around him, not safely. So, you know, and I think it's because Wildthing's used to RC being just a cowboy, and he's used to me being just out there, because I mean, I'm always out there. So he never knows what to expect of me. But there's times that Wildthing is sitting outside, relaxing, and I may kind of crawl in and lay close to him. I can't touch him, I can't lay up against him, because then he'll jump up. But I do lay in there with him, and then sometimes RC and I both will lay in there together. And I mean, you know, he can be, you know, seem real sweet, but he's not a, you know, sweet animal per se, you know. I mean, he is a very dangerous animal for others.
Well, I'm afraid he might tear up stuff, you know, if we brought him in. But when I brought him in, it was kind of odd because he behaved himself in here. And then pretty soon I was leaving the door open, and he'd come back and forth in the house. But he never used the bathroom in the house. If he'd ever used the bathroom in the house, this deal would have never happened. He potty trained himself. I do not have a clue how you could potty train a buffalo. Now that he's gotten big, we have to move coffee tables and couches around. It's like having a small car come through your house. He has a hard time getting his horns through the doors. We've had people eat with us before at their own risk, but it's not probably perfectly safe for them, although I'm willing to lay down my life to save theirs. When the grandkids come over, we have to put up fences, we have to put up everything in the house. We don't have to when Wildthing comes in. I'd rather have the Wildthing in the house than my grandkids most of the time. So far, he hadn't tore up anything. He's just been perfect in the house. He looks at everything. He's real curious about everything in the house, but he doesn't tear up anything. A lot of times, as soon as he walks out of the house, he'll knock my barbecue pit over, but it's outside. But in the house, he's a perfect gentleman. He's unpredictable. In the house, he's pretty predictable. Outside, he's really a crazy, wild, crazy animal outside. He's very dangerous for anybody else to be around. It's taken 10 years for Sharon to be able to go around them safely. And I still want to be there for her, because I will attack him. I can't win, but he thinks I can win. Always being the alpha, you got to be the alpha. You got to have enough courage to stand up to him, even though you know you can lose. I don't have a chance against him, but he thinks I can. Once I get him by the horns, he thinks I got him. It's a big bluff.
It is likely that Wildthing is the only fully trained bison in the world. His skills go beyond wrecking the fences.
He pulls a chariot, plows a garden. He was her best man at her wedding. My boy's the first one to ski behind a buffalo on sand. And my daughter's the first one to snow sled behind a buffalo. He eats at the dining room table with us. Any crazy thing I can think of to do, I do it. He's the first one to ever pull a canoe.
There are times that Wildthing seems to get what's going on, even at a big event like his owner's wedding.
I just thought it's something different to do. I didn't know anybody ever know about it but us, but I thought it was kind of cool to have a bison or buffalo as a best man.
Our minister, he knew us already, so...
He wasn't real comfortable, though.
No, he wasn't real comfortable, but he liked it. I mean, he thought it was neat, you know, and he only said only for us, not for everybody. Our wedding has been all over the world.
He was a good gentleman. He did throw the rings off his horns, though. I see him as a little baby. I don't see him as a big buffalo. He's a baby to me. He's not big to me because I've raised him, and he's still a baby to me.
Yeah. And when you look at his little face, it just looks so sweet. So you just fall in love with him, you know.
I have no fear of him at all, but I do know when not to mess with him. He's moody. There's sometimes I know that I better leave him alone.
There is no doubt that this is a dangerous animal. It could escape and cause a lot of trouble. But to date, Wildthing has seldom wandered beyond his local street.
If he gets out, everybody just take pictures from their porch, but they know not to go around him.
Yeah.
He goes down the road about a quarter of a mile and fights a cedar tree. And I learned the first time I went down there, I better let him fight the cedar tree for a little while, because he'll come after me if I try to make him quit too soon. Mm-hmm. So I let him go ahead and fight it for a little while, then I'll put a rope around his horns and lead him home. He's got a real big barn, and he has fans in it, and I water the ground every day because it's hot this time of year, and he stays pretty comfortable. Of course, his favorite place is in the house. I go there and feed him every day. I can pour the feed in the trough. If you try to pour the feed in the trough, he'd kill you. He don't want anybody feeding him but myself and Sharon. I have let other people feed him through the fence, and he'll attack them.
RC treats Wildthing with mutual respect, but it is RC who has to do the cleaning up.
I just got a lot of joy out of them. I got to clean his poop out of the yard every day, and you know what? I'm glad it's out there so I can clean it up because I just enjoy them. I brush them every day. I spend more time with him than I do my wife. I'm in the pen with him when he's tearing up stuff usually. He may be throwing the canoe in the air or tearing the fences up. I stay in the pen with him. Ever since he hurt me one time pretty good, I think he knows he hurt me and now he don't want to. And the hard part when we're filming or doing something out there and we want a video or something, I can't get close to him when he's tearing up stuff. But for the opposite reason, you think.
Woo!
If I get close to him, he's gonna quit. Because he's gonna protect me by quitting. So if I wanna, Sharon's doing a video of him tearing up a fence, I gotta stay back far enough that he won't quit. Because once I get in a danger zone, he shuts it down. He knows I'm his best friend because I never do anything against him. I do everything for him.
Wildthing will be here
All his life.
all of his life.
Yeah, we'll never give up Wildthing. He hopefully he's middle age. He's 12 now, and he should live to be around 25 at least. I hope. And he's not going anywhere. There's no amount of money could ever buy him. He'll never be for sale.
Never.
And he would be too dangerous for anybody else to have. And one thing about the bison, there are some other trainers. There have been other trainers. I've known 4 of them killed in the last 5 years. And they kill nearly all their trainers. And he may kill me, but I hope he don't. And I sure want to protect her.
It's hard to define Tippi Hedron, the Hollywood legend and star of The Birds, Marnie, Roar, and The Countess from Hong Kong. She has been an active humanitarian, creator of a multi-million-dollar manicuring industry, and is the only actor to have worked on films with both Alfred Hitchcock and Charlie Chaplin. But her real passion is with the beauty and majesty of the big cats. Her recent biography looks into her acting career, but spends more time on her love of animals. Tippi is the founder of Shambala, a sprawling 40-acre wild animal sanctuary a few hours north of Los Angeles. Shambala is home to around 30 big cats.
I can't even imagine my life without these big cats. I can't even imagine it. I mean, they've given me so much. Certainly on understanding the species and totally respecting the qualities that are inborn into those beings and what is in that brain and what activates those instincts and just getting to know these animals. It's been a great honor. It's been something that we have to have done to be able to give them the life that we have given them, to be able to understand them. We can't understand everything about them. Enough to really give them a good life. There's something very, very fascinating about something of great beauty. The personality of the great cat is varied and elaborate and dangerous, and they can kill you. Without even thinking twice about it. Well, I've always been in love with them, even before I even had a possibility of going to Africa. Seeing them actually in their own environment, in their own way of life and being free, and it was an astounding time.
Shambala Reserve is not a zoo or an animal park. It was set up to take on the role of looking after animals that no longer had a home in the U.S. Some were dropped off at the gates, Others have come from circuses or zoos, and many from private pet ownership. It is estimated that over 3,500 tigers alone are in private ownership in the U.S., with many of them now too large to look after.
I don't know the exact numbers of them, but I know it has diminished because people are getting smarter. I mean, with the exotic feline, you're dealing with an apex predator. You're dealing with an animal who could just as soon kill you as just walk across the room. They are extremely dangerous. They have instincts born in them that can never be removed. And they are dangerous.
Tippi Hedron knows too well the dangers. During the production of her feature film Roar, tigers and lions featured heavily in the story. This meant working closely with a number of dangerous animals, and incidents did happen.
I had seen a number of accidents caused by these animals. I was hurt. Practically all the people on our movie had some sort of an encounter with one of the animals, with a lion or a tiger. And, they were going to name a wing at the Palmdale Hospital after us because we were there so much.
Melanie Griffith, Tippi's daughter, a well-known actor in her own right, was also on the set of Roar. Melanie was very used to having the big cats around, but even then, things can go wrong.
Gosh, she was leaned over. She did something. Anyway, one of the cats was a lion, and it got her right across her forehead. I just grabbed her and ran, got out the gate, and put her in the car, and we went to the doctor. And she had to have a whole, all these stitches put in her forehead. Fortunately, he did a really good job. You'd never know it. So I do know from where I speak, these are not animals that should be in somebody's home as a pet or in captivity in somebody's backyard in an 8x10 cage or, that kind of confinement. I think the American public is becoming smarter. They're becoming more aware of the fact that this is it's simply brutality to have those animals in a circus. It's not only brutal to keep the strict confinement that they're in, the treatment that they have in order to do those stupid tricks that they make them do is, it's obscene. It's horrible, and those poor animals, I'm surprised more people haven't been killed by these animals from the treatment they've had.
Shambala is Tippi's home. She shares the 40 acres with her cats. And in the past, it was common for some of the animals to live in the house, even to the point of sleeping on the bed with her daughter, Melanie. Tigers and lions were their pets, so much so that this image of a tiger jumping through the kitchen window was not set up. It was just one of the many daily events that happen over many years of rearing the big cats. But Tippi reached the conclusion that rather than having them as pets, they should be studied and left to live their natural lives rather than be part of the household. The decision was made to stop the interaction with the animals, especially after the dangers became more noticeable.
There was a whole group of women. They were in college. They wanted to have a photograph with a tiger. And they found the tiger, and the tiger was trained to stand there and be photographed. And they all went up and had their picture taken with the tiger, and one of them went up, and the tiger moved and stepped on the girl's foot, and she screamed, and the tiger jumped her. There are situations that are so frightening and so unnecessary that never should happen. In fact, at one point, I remember gathering my staff around, and I said there will be no more contact with any of the animals again. right now, it's over, it's done. And they were all really angry because they really enjoyed having that one-on-one with the animal, with the lion or the tiger. And they were smart, they knew what they were doing, but that doesn't make a difference. You're dealing with an apex predator who has the top say. They have the top word. It's a great honor to have one of these animals be your friend. To know that that animal recognizes you and likes you, but they're a weapon. They're a weapon, and they operate simply on their minds and their instincts. And you can't ever forget that. When you're not dealing with a killer, I think any kind of an animal needs to have whoever becomes the power of in a captive situation must know everything about that species, about what does that animal need, and what can I give it that they need, not what I feel like giving them. You know, oh well, I've got an 8x10 cage out in my backyard. That'll be fine. He'll fit in there. That's not enough. No, there's a great deal to know about an animal, any animal that you decide to take into your life, no matter what it is. Whether it's, my little cat that just walked by, or whatever. What can I give that animal that will give him a life that he will be content? And if you look at it that way, there probably wouldn't be so many unhappy, miserable animals in captivity. I think there are a lot of people who would like to have a wild animal as a pet. Of course, it depends on the type of wild animal that you choose. However, if you're choosing an apex predator to become your pet, you're making a very, very big mistake. A huge mistake, because the instincts in those animals are it's in their brain. And there's nothing you can do to change that. They will always be a danger. You just don't ever know when it's going to come to the foreground, and most likely you wouldn't have the strength or the knowledge of how to react to it. I mean, these animals are powerful beyond belief. I don't know, the tensile strength of these animals is one that we can't, in their greatest amount of power that they exude, there isn't any way that you could fight that, other than a bullet. I feel very, very grateful that I've been able to have this life with the big cats. I am very grateful that I have managed to become an older woman. I've still got all my limbs and I'm still walking upright, because there have been times when I was put in the hospital, because you're dealing with an entity that is so powerful and so unforgiving, and they're not good at telling you what their plans are. We feel very, very fortunate that we haven't had any serious problems with these animals. And I do not recommend anyone acquiring a lion or a tiger as a pet, for any reason. The fascinating thing about them is that you just never know. I mean, you can have 10 years of just absolute angel lion, angel tiger, and then bam. It's like playing Russian roulette.
Shambala has its role. It is one place where lions and tigers can feel safe and cared for. Tippi Hedron has done so much for these animals. They are in captivity, But the respect shown to each and every one of them goes without saying. But the final word on owning a predator pet is a warning.
With the exotic cats, you're dealing with a serial killer.
Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the U.S. alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow.
You can go take him over to the log there, Chris. In the course of raising animals and having certain ones, sure, I've gotten bit before. You can't be in it 50 years and not have had an incident here or there for whatever reason it might have been at that time. And generally, it's been my own fault. Here, come here. Easy, easy. See, that's him. He's actually very happy about that. He just wants to play in the worst way.
Although this attack was unexpected, for Luke the lion, this was apparently playtime.
See, like that, jumping on me, that was all, he's all happy, but you see how he was stalking in the bushes, he thought, oh, and it's a big game to him. Yeah, it's all him saying hi. He has his claws, but he didn't use them. I mean, because a lot of times just in play, you see that? That's hot. You can't go under the trailer.
Steve isn't too bothered by the game Luke is playing. He's worked with exotic animals for around 50 years, and he's seen this kind of behavior before. Lions are quite social animals, and within their pride, they are often affectionate with head rubbing, licking, and purring. However, no matter what your experience working with lions, these animals are quick and they are predators with speed on their side.
Very, very quick. Say if you were clear at the other end of this pen and he was here, you would never outrun him. He would catch you for sure. I mean, they are extremely fast when they want to be.
A lion can run up to 50 miles per hour, but only in short bursts, so they need to be close to their prey before they attack. But generally, lions are a sleepy bunch, and they like to lay around with their pride for around 18 hours a day.
They look at us as the dominant member of whatever species. We're talking about lions, so it's lions. They want to do what they do to their fellow lions. We just don't like it when they bite and claw, so we curtail that. Hi. Yes.
Chris Edrington works alongside Steve Martin, training animals to work in film and television. This is a job that requires incredible skill, knowing what makes these beasts tick.
Easy.
He's like a teenage boy. They stretch the limit sometimes. It's the energy you see is a lot of that. By the time they're 5 or 6, they're much more mellow.
They might be more mellow as they get older, but getting up close to a lion isn't for the inexperienced.
If you didn't know what you were doing, it could be very dangerous. I mean, because you got to watch that. He'll jump up and grab it. Oh, he's watching the rabbit in the sky. Oh no, he eventually would jump at it and go crunch, crunch.
The boom is a great game for Luke. Luke is an experienced animal actor, so the boom is a familiar sight. But Steve knows he needs to keep the boom well away from Luke's reach. This is all part of professional animal training, and Steve Martin is one of the best trainers in the business.
See, we teach them a mark. It gives them a place to go to. Like if the director said, we need him to come out from behind the bush and come stop there and then run off, we teach him a mark so we can call him to an exact spot. And I tell him, all right, and then Chris would call him off. If you watch a lot of shows, you would start picking up on that, oh, okay, I get it now. Because you see him come up, skid to a stop in an exact spot. Usually it's always a trained behavior to go to that.
When it comes to training, it's all about repetition. If you want to train a lion to perform on cue, it needs to be second nature for them.
As they get older and as they learn stuff, no, go on. He wants to rub on me and say hi. As they get older and they learn stuff, they learn how to learn. And where that might have taken us 20 or 30 times of doing it before he goes, I got what you want now. You notice how he went out and got on it right away? After a while, you get on set and they go, can he do this or that? And I said, well, he doesn't really know us. Give us a few minutes. And usually we can get him to do it.
Lions have been used in the film industry for many years, from Leo, the MGM lion, and the black and white era, to a wide variety of blockbusters still being made today.
The lion forgot his lions. Maybe he was tired of retakes, but he suddenly turned on Bickford and gave him a bad mauling. To Bickford, however, it was all in a day's work.
Lions have long been associated as the fierce aggressor in popular culture. But there's also a softer, more endearing side, as well as being the star of slapstick comedy.
In the business we're in, we don't say they're pets, they're working creatures, even though we have a very strong attachment with them and them with us. Usually we always try to get an animal and hand raise it, because it's not like getting an animal, this is no good, we'll get rid of him, get another one, yeah, get rid of him. Usually when they come to us, they're here to stay. And we do this as a business, and also, I've been in it, I hate to even admit, since 1967. So I've been in it a lot of years, and we like our animals. We spend a tremendous amount of time. These guys are here every day, 7 days a week, and I have other trainers too that are very dedicated to all of them. So you build up really strong bonds and relationships with these guys, as you can see.
Luke was donated to Steve as a baby from a park in South Carolina. So this young cub has grown up with Steve by his side. This relationship makes it hard to believe that in the wild, a lion can be so dangerous.
Oh yeah, he'll be a real good animal. He's, like you can see how excited he is all the time. As he gets older, hopefully the excitedness will settle down a little bit, because I've been gone for 3 weeks, so this is pretty normal for him to constantly want to greet you. Oh, I know, it's okay, just relax. No, wait.
The relationship between Steve and Luke, like all Steve's animals, is one of great respect. But for Steve, he prides himself on being able to create such a wonderful bond with his movie stars.
I'm relaxed, but I'm also aware of what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of people that really think they know what they're doing and don't. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the private sector that do have animals, they get these animals and they raise them as babies, and they're real rambunctious, and they think because my little girl was around it when it was this size, that she can be around it, my daughter, my son, or whatever, when they're full size. It's a whole different mentality.
Animals, like humans, grow through varying stages of maturity. Playful when young, but when the predator instinct kicks in, these trainers need to be on their game.
The cats are a bit more of a predator than a lot of animals. Like bears, for instance, they're not necessarily a real predator like these guys are. and they're a little more intelligent in that direction. Where these guys basically, they respond out of contact and well, their main drive is being fed for what they're doing. You see what he's doing right now? He's begging. He says, Chris, give me a piece. Here. That's it. Come here. Is it a good boy? Huh? No, quit.
Juan Stewart is a vet with American Humane, and part of his role is to ensure the safety and well-being of all animal actors.
I frequent sets and even the animal companies that provide these dangerous animals to the films. I've had experience and time around a lot of them. You can go back and forth, and you may have a moment where you're with someone who's very experienced, has the expertise, and you would say, I feel safe. I think the people around these animals are safe. And then you'll have a moment with someone else who doesn't have the experience or the wherewithal. And you know immediately that that animal poses a threat, potentially a lethal threat, to that person and the people around him.
For Steve and his team of professional animal trainers at Working Wildlife, every animal is special, whether it's a big cat, chimpanzee, or even a bear. This is one of the top go-to companies for animals in high-end TV commercials and blockbuster movies. For such a setup, being vetted is important for their reputation.
The American Humane, we have them come up all the time. They brought somebody from Australia, from New Zealand, and around the world, and they want to see how you handle your animals, because they have humane departments throughout the world. And we call them and ask them to come, because there's certain groups out there, which I won't say their names, but are highly against what we do, because they think we starve and beat our animals and all that. So I don't know how you could take an animal you abused on a set with like 200 people and not have it kill you, So it's all a positive reward system in all the training that we do.
With so much experience, the Working Wildlife training is a slick operation. But for the animals, it's often about playtime and fun. They know there's a reward on offer if they hit their mark. These creatures leave it up to the trainers when it comes to the serious side of the business.
When we're on set, we usually are pretty strict. Like, I always take 3 people. Those other 2 people, they're not just watching what I'm doing, they're watching what's going on. I'm watching exterior things. And sometimes I'll see somebody, like with these guys here, if you had somebody, one person, you got 50 people here and one person out over there, like peeking behind a tree or something, they pick up on that right now. And right away you'll see them like this, uh-oh. I said, who's, and you can see them out there. So we try to keep a handle on all exterior stuff that's going on when we're working.
One of the stars in the animal lineup is a Kodiak bear named Tag. He's obedient, playful, and likes a crispy treat or two. But when you're working with bears, it's always best to be cautious.
Bears can be very dangerous. I mean, under the wrong circumstances. Even though he's real nice, he's very good about things, very forgiving. No matter what, he's still a bear. And you always have to take that into respect. You do the wrong thing and at the right time, and you could set him off for one reason or another. So we're very careful about what we do and how we do it, and we've actually had him in houses and various things. But we go and check everything out before we are ever going to do a job in certain situations, and make sure it's safe for him and for the people.
Tag is clearly one of Steve's most beloved bears. And he is so switched on that he's worked out it's very much to his advantage to be well behaved in order to get a few extra rewards.
He's not real keen on chocolate usually. I like that. It's good. It's got peanuts in it. I mean, sometimes I offer him like a chocolate bar and he'll put his nose on it. Yeah. Well, bears are very, very smart, and you can teach them a lot of things. One of my favorites is lions. I really like the cats. But these guys They have a different intelligence level compared to a cat. A cat's more primitive, where these guys are, the primitiveness isn't as strong in them as it is in the cats. So they're a little smarter. I think they definitely think about if they didn't like somebody, it's always back there in the back of their mind, you know, and if the opportunity arose, they could probably take advantage of it. But you have to be careful because they do have their claws. You know, none of these animals, as you can see, are declawed.
Tag is so popular, he even travels overseas to take a starring role in the movies.
He's very socialized with people. I mean, actually, we can work in close proximity. Like the thing we just did in South Africa is with Johnny Knox and him, and we taught him to drink beer. I mean, it wasn't beer, it was, we put Dr. Pepper in a beer can. But the two of them are sitting down, drinking together, and they high-five each other with their beer. We had 2 days prep down there and did all the sequences they wanted, so he's a very adaptable bear because he's had so much exposure that when he goes to a new place, he knows it's a game. Oh, yes, I know. Here's your animal cracker. Come on. You're too lazy to get up and get it, though, huh?
Bears have different appetites depending upon the time of year. In spring through to summer, they'll eat 3 to 5 gallon buckets of food a day. But in the cooler months, it's about a half a bucket.
Well, their whole system slows down this time of year. You're a lazy worker right now, aren't you?
It seems Steve has Tag well trained. However, these animals all have predator instincts that should never be disregarded. But with safe practice in mind, the working relationship between animal and trainer can be full of rewards.
You can see in this guy, he picks up on things real quick. So, you know, at first when we started teaching him, like I said before, it's a slower process, but as they learn how to learn, they kind of, like these bears, they'll just kind of look at you like, oh, okay. And so they pick it up real fast. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Good, good boy. Good boy.
The animals are always the #1 priority at working wildlife, and Steve has an incredible setup where the animals only spend a small amount of time in their enclosures. On a property this size, the animals get to roam in dedicated open spaces while they prepare for their next starring role. The fear of snakes is one of our most common phobias. But why do we have such an adverse reaction to snakes, even though most of us have never seen one in the wild? Snakes are found on every continent except Antarctica, and there are over 3,600 species slithering across them. Most are non-venomous, but the ones that are venomous can kill, which gives all snakes this bad reputation. However, John Cann and his snake-loving family find them irresistible.
People are scared of snakes because of the unknown factor. And even when you fully explain it to them, there's no danger if you're careful. They're still got that phobia there, they're concerned. The main thing is you don't try to pick him up, you don't tread near him. A lot of deadly snakes, you can tread near them, they'll escape. A lot of them will put up and have a go at you. They're not aggressive, they're defensive. And their defense is being aggressive.
Given the deadly reputation of venomous snakes, why is it that snakes are the most common exotic animals kept in captivity? John's unique family story goes some way to answering this. John Cann has been living with snakes all his life. The Cann family has worked with snakes for almost 100 years, and John's father, George, took over the snake show at La Perouse from 1920, which is still operating today at the same site in Sydney, Australia. The original show was promoted as the Snake Pit of Death, guaranteed to draw a crowd. John and his brother George Jr. have been extremely close to snakes their whole life. So much so that John is a leading expert and author on the subject of snakes and other exotics. Since his retirement from the snake shows in 2010, John has had more time to concentrate on writing books about these cold-blooded reptiles that have fascinated him since childhood.
Dad started when he came back from the First World War. He was still in the army in February 19. Come back from France. There was nobody doing the snake show, and he was the snake man by then. So he went and caught a few snakes and set up the pit at the La Perouse. And Mum used to be the Cleopatra. She was the first snake show lady in Tasmania when she was 13. Mum worked on the same showground as Dad, and down the track they got married. Whenever Dad was bush, Mum used to do the show at La Perouse. Never with real bad snakes, I can assure you. She probably had pythons and a few black snakes.
It's uncommon for exotic pet ownership to cross over many generations. But for John Cann, the handling of dangerous snakes is a family tradition. The collection of snakes includes some of Australia's deadliest species.
We got most of our snakes from around here, but we used to travel the country a lot when we was getting snakes for milking. We used to go to different lake countries in New South Wales, down into Victoria. But generally speaking, we used to get local snakes.
When they weren't using local snakes in the show, John and his dad regularly traveled into the countryside looking for new exhibits to include.
When I was a kid, I was in a swamp at Nowra one time. I was probably about, 8, 9 year old. And Dad used to always hunt with his trowels that roll up around his legs. And he was in the water where this big black snake was. He was over 2 metres, thicker than your arm. And Dad was battling to get that snake in the bag. But he said, pull my trousers down. And before he knew it, I unbuckled his belt and pulled his trousers down. His trousers were floating in the bloody water. And he didn't see the funny side of it. Later on, he always said, roll my trousers down.
The diamond python has a stunning skin coloration, which makes it an attractive option as a pet. They can often be found in the roof spaces of houses, an unwelcome surprise for unsuspecting homeowners. The keeping of dangerous snakes is a risk, and yet their popularity as pets is growing worldwide. In the wild, snakes avoid humans, whereas in captivity, they spend a lot of time being handled. But are all snakes the same? Is it possible to completely tame a snake?
They all have their own temperament, whatever mood they're in, but some of our deadliest snakes do quieten down in captivity after a time, and people, in my opinion, carelessly put the venomous snakes around their neck. And as I photographed in one of my books, a friend of mine kissing a tiger snake, and that's the snake that killed him. So you can never be certain they're not going to bite even when they're quiet. I have had friends of mine in comas for weeks and weeks after a bitten by a snake they reckon would never ever bite them. So.
Rob, who is one of the current snake handlers at La Perouse, also works as a professional snake catcher and knows what's required to safely manage these reptiles.
The experience of being bitten by a snake can sometimes be a good lesson. Best avoided, but I have been bitten by venomous snakes. Out of thousands of snake species, that are many of them are harmless, I could have been bitten by many harmless species. But I think what people are trying to ask is, have you been bitten by venomous snakes? And the answer is yes. It'd be sort of weird if you hadn't, in a way, to be so involved with snakes and never actually experience that part of. And I don't recommend it in any way. Don't go and get yourself bitten by a snake. Our only highly venomous ambush predator is this historical snake. But it's got the worst name of any snake in history. This snake is called the death adder. One of the fastest striking snakes in the world. And they are quite venomous if you measure the toxicity of their venom. And the best way I can describe how venomous a death adder is by how many people used to die from its bite. The death rate from death adder bite before the invention of anti-venom was apparently 50% fatality rate before the invention of anti-venom.
Even when you're an expert with snakes, it must be remembered you could be dealing with a venomous snake that won't hesitate to bite if they feel threatened. John's dad survived the ordeal of being bitten by a tiger snake.
He got a very bad bite from a big tiger snake on the ankle there, and the snake really hung on and gave him a lot of venom, and all he did was say to his friend who was with him at the time, "Don't tell the missus about it," you know. But she knew, she could see the look on his face that he was bitten. But that bite would have killed a normal person, I would say. Could have been within 10 minutes, it could be an hour or two. But it was a bad bite from a big cranky snake.
Tiger snakes, one of the world's deadliest snakes, are highly venomous and found in subtropical and temperate regions of Australia. Tiger snakes are dangerous, but people do keep them as pets. They appear intimidating and fearsome, but it is mostly a bluff. Experts will say that you do need a high level of experience in snake handling before you even think about keeping a venomous species. Is a snake recommended as an ideal pet? As with most exotic animals, it requires a special kind of person that's prepared to provide the right environment for them to live in. But unlike a domestic cat or dog, a snake will never come looking for any affection from its human.
If you like snakes, that's the only way you can call them a pet, because they'll never get to know you. A lot of people get the impression that snakes do know you. I don't believe it. They'll come to you when you open their cage or their door or whatever. They think you're going to supply them with food. Some snakes will bite you when they're really hungry by mistake, but soon let you go. We're talking about non-venomous snakes. But generally speaking, they make a good pet, you know, as long as you can look after them properly and you've got the right facilities to do so.
Yeah, I would definitely say snakes make good pets. Depends on who you are, but they're more catered to somebody who has an interest in natural history. See, a dog or a cat is for people who just need something and it has to do something for them. With a reptile, especially a snake, it's more of an interesting creature from a scientific point of view. They're interesting in their reproductive biology, in their behaviour. They're low maintenance, so they actually make quite good pets.
John Cann is a responsible owner with an enormous amount of experience. He has always been around snakes and other exotics, and in some way, this has definitely enhanced his lifestyle. Snakes evoke fear, but for John, they are a constant joy and a pet that in most cases are easily handled. Knowing how to handle a snake properly is important. Allowing them to move freely is recommended, as it will soon let you know if it isn't comfortable.
You never restrict their movement. If I stopped him from moving, he would get cranky about it, maybe not bite me. If I held it long enough, he probably might. I don't know, I'm not going to try it out. But irrespective of that, you never restrict a snake from moving unless it's a venomous snake and you got him by the tail. and you're trying to keep his head away from you, you hold them by the body. But as a so-called pet or that python, you don't restrict their movements.
John's diamond python is from the python family, which are non-venomous and known as constrictors. Tightening slowly around their victim, constrictors coil their body around the prey until they are suffocated and ready to consume. Pythons can swallow prey bigger than the diameter of their own heads, which broadens the possibilities of a hearty meal. The snake pit at La Perouse provides the opportunity for the public to get up close and personal with some of Australia's deadliest snakes in a controlled environment. Rob recalls the impact his snakes have on the public that come to see the shows.
People react here to snakes a lot better than they do when it's in their house. A snake in a snake show is always, people react to it much better because it's in a controlled situation and there's a snake handler there. If you bring the snake over to the wall to show them, they step backwards at the same rate. And some people even scream when the snake heads in their direction. So the people are as highly variable as the snakes are.
Well, they're all very curious. I often used to get the impression at times that people are a bit disappointed you never got bitten, which is probably could have been true. I'd like to think I was wrong, but they're interested on the educational aspect of it.
The shows at La Perouse have been entertaining people for generations. These days, the shows educate people about some of Australia's deadliest snakes that are kept safely tucked away in bags at the snake pit, waiting for their turn to draw gas from the spectators. As each snake is displayed, Rob explains the characteristics of the species and exposes some common misconceptions about snakes. Safety is always top of mind when working with these reptiles, and even though he knows their behaviors well, there's always the slim chance he could get bitten. They have to be respected at all times. But as far as John is concerned, a lifetime's fascination with snakes proves that even this misunderstood and often feared predator can become a unique part of the family. Just don't expect them to fetch a ball. Australia's largest island, Tasmania, is home to some of the world's strangest animals. And sadly, it's best known for the demise of the most well-known marsupial, the Tasmanian tiger. Extinct since the 1930s, it may come as a surprise that they were once kept as pets, but even this could not guarantee the species' survival. The debate around exotic animals as pets is now centered on the other recognizable Tasmanian animal, the Tassie Devil. The keeping of native animals in Australia is a hot topic, but maybe the best opinion on this comes from someone who works with the devils every day. Alicia looks after a colony of devils, and one in particular is young Hurricane.
This here is baby Hurricane. He is a Tasmanian Devil. He's approximately 5 months old, we believe. So he is being hand raised by me at the moment. So he comes to work with me every single day, and then when I go home at night, he comes with me as well. He's being bottle fed around 5 to 6 times a day, every 4 to 5 hours. So he needs constant care, constant warmth. He's got a little hutch that he lives in when he's at home with me, which has a heat pad and lots of blankets and soft toys and things in there for him as well.
Hurricane is cute, but Alicia does know that his bite is as bad as his squeal.
Tasmanian devils actually have the strongest jaw of any animal relative to their size. The second strongest jaw belongs to the tiger. Therefore, pound for pound, Tassie devils can actually bite you harder than a tiger.
An average adult male weighs in at around 18 pounds. Its muscular build and strong jaws mean it can tear into wombats weighing up to 65 pounds.
You pop him down on the ground and it's natural instinct for him to want to chase you. So what he'll do is he'll chase me for as long as he needs in order to find my leg and climb back up my body. So he comes home with me and terrorizes my living room. He likes to intimidate you, so that's Tasmanian Devil's game, basically. They like to open their mouth wide and show you their big teeth. They like to make really terrifying noises in front of your face. He likes to approach and likes to try to scare you out of his territory if he doesn't want you to be in there. If he does bite you, it's going to hurt, and it's probably going to scar as well, so you need to watch those signs really carefully and make sure that you are safe while you're in there.
Devils could be good pets. Their size, the sleeping habits, and what they eat is similar to that of a pet dog. But unlike dogs, when Hurricane reaches sexual maturity, a different approach is needed.
He's going to be fine for at least 2 years until sexual maturity kicks in, and then he's not going to be aggressive, he's just not going to be friendly anymore. So I would not be able to hold him up like a baby with his face next to mine and feel confident that there isn't a chance that he would bite me. Once sexual maturity kicks in, he turns back into a wild sort of devil, and his sexual instincts kick in, and that becomes his main priority. If I enter an enclosure where a female is or where he can smell a female, then I then become a threat to his chances to having that female, and he does become a little bit more aggressive and will want to remove you from his enclosure. I actually hand-raised Hurricane's mum and dad, so I was comfortable with them for a long time. His dad was very comfortable with me until sexual maturity hit at around 2.5 years old. I could still pick him up, he'd climb up my leg and be happy to have a cuddle, just like your friendly dogs and cats at home, until about 2.5 years old. And then once he started to feel like a big boy, it became very unsafe to go in with him then. So that's his natural instinct. He wants to grab on. I have a little bit of arm in there, so it's pretty painful. It's like a vice-like grip at the moment. He doesn't want mum to leave him behind in the wild, so he needs to latch on with all his might. Obviously, if another animal wants to come by and eat him, they're going to want to pull as hard as they can to get him off mum's back. So once he latches onto something, there's a vice-like grip there. So if he gets my finger or if he gets my arm, just got to leave it there until he's done, basically.
There's little doubt that the tight grip could cause serious injury. The devil's bite force is an obvious deterrent to human contact.
It's less damaging, but when they're adults, you definitely don't want them to bite you. So you're always watching their behaviour to make sure that they're not showing any aggressive signs like that. As adults, if they were to bite you, it's usually just a warning bite. They'll bite you in an attempt to scare you, and then they're going to let go straight away. So they're not going to hold on, which is wonderful, because otherwise you could end up with some broken bones depending on where they were biting you if they really wanted to. Welding gloves is one good thing that you should always be wearing if you are going to have to handle the devil. It's not going to help you too much, but it's going to help a little bit. Holding them at the base of their tail is the safest place if you can get to it.
Although it's illegal to own any endangered native Australian animals, it's more the Tasmanian Devil's temperament that protects it from private animal ownership.
Usually people do try to push the boundaries with things like that. Probably people are a little bit too scared with Tasmanian devils. Tasmanian devils tend to have a really bad name. They'll stand in front of you, they'll open their mouth really wide and they want to try to intimidate you. People will tend to see that sort of behaviour and tend to think, I don't want to go anywhere near that Tassie devil, so I don't think anyone really even wants to have them as pets, which is good. Sure, yeah, so Tasmanian devils, of course, you cannot have them as a pet. You can't have any native wildlife as a pet. The Australian government just does not allow you to do that. It encourages then people to illegally take those animals out of the wild, which you want to discourage, of course. So Tasmanian devils especially you cannot have. They're an endangered species. They're quite a tricky species to look after and they're dangerous as well. So if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know those warning signs as they get older, a lot of damage can be done to yourself, younger children, other animals and things like that as well.
Some believe that devils could be taught not to be so aggressive and be as calm and domesticated as a family pet. Twinkle was one such pet. She lived with her owner, Mike Jago, for many years. Her behavior was perfect, up until just after her first birthday. Mike came home one day to find Twinkle had destroyed his leather lounge. When the thylacine died out, the Tasmanian devil took over the title of the largest known carnivorous marsupial. But where the thylacine's relatively docile nature made it suitable as a domestic pet, even hand-reared devils are far from safe to be around. Some experts say that had devils been domesticated for generations, they may have become more predictable and better behaved. Domestication may also help in saving the species. It is estimated that 90% of all devils in the wild are affected by an aggressive cancer which is threatening their existence. Many believe we are witnessing the demise of a species and that captive animals may be the only way forward. Private ownership may still be a possible solution to the conservation of other species, but the issue remains contentious. Is domestication really a viable solution?
In some states here in America, it is outright legal to own just about anything, but that doesn't make it okay and it doesn't make it beneficial to the animal. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, and we know that. You know, animal ownership is certainly, underscores that, and it's an evolution, you know. The understanding of the care, the welfare that goes into a lot of these animals, it's an evolution, it takes time.
Tigers and lions, for example, have been successfully bred in captivity, but none have ever been reintroduced to the wild.
To save cats, you've got to have that entire ecosystem intact. Any part of that food chain is out and the cats are going to die. So keeping animals in their own habitat is by far the best way.
Alicia and Hurricane have formed a bond that may just be a positive sign for this much maligned species.
I'm mum to him now, yep. So he knows my scent. He's pretty happy to be hand raised by me. If somebody else has to give him a bottle for any reason, just for one of those times, he tends to be a little bit more frustrating because it's different smells to him. Obviously everyone has a little bit of a different technique as well. So he prefers consistency. He likes to be hand raised by only one person. It does work best for him in order for him to grow and develop as he's supposed to. I feel like I'm really, really lucky. Tasmanian devils are obviously an endangered species, so being able to work so closely with a species that's so special and so unique is really awesome. And also working with them, you know, you're actually doing something to help them in the wild as well. So I also help run the Devils in Danger Foundation. So Hurricane will be an ambassador species for that foundation, encourage people to fall in love with him and Tasmanian devils in general, which is going to, of course, encourage people to want to donate and to want to help save them in the wild. It's really, really important to let people see them and gain such an appreciation for a really special species that people tend to overlook a lot of the time.
Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the U.S. alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow. The entire perimeter of this rural Nevada property is surrounded by 10-foot chain fences topped with barbed wire, making it seem more like a prison compound than a family home. But Scott and Susanna, the couple who live there, aren't worried about possible burglars. They're more concerned about protecting the public from their unusual and potentially deadly pets. Their 10-acre property is home to a variety of exotic creatures, including tigers, lions, wolves, and other predators that many would consider too dangerous to keep at home.
You don't eliminate the danger, what you do is you mitigate the risk.
When it comes to safely keeping predators as pets, the more familiar the animal is with their handlers, the safer the interaction is.
Look at that leg.
Susanna is clearly very comfortable with her feline companion, and although the lioness is obviously unsettled by the presence of our camera crew, she shows no sign of threatening behavior towards her keeper.
Yeah, that's my girl. That's my girl. Yes, I know. She can knock me down. Don't kick me. You scared of that?
When Scott first met his partner, Susanna, she already owned some unusual pets, including reptiles and big cats.
How did I get this? I met Susanna. I was actually a defense contractor working at the Air Force Base. And when I met her, she was downsizing. She had 2 tigers and 5 dogs. And 1 or 2 that could have been considered wolf dogs.
Even though she is trained in business and economics, Susanna spent most of her life being hands-on with animals, starting as a child riding horses in Eastern Europe. She has been keeping reptiles and dogs since the early 1980s and big cats since the mid-90s.
Shortly after I met her, I found out she had tigers, and it was a case of, you know, would like to go see my tigers. I was like, oh, okay, we'll go to the zoo, and you know, she has some that she treats as her own. And what does she do? She hands me a milk bottle and go here, give her a bottle of milk, and I was milk feeding her.
At first, Scott was understandably apprehensive about meeting Susanna's bigger cats, but he quickly became familiar with the unique requirements of owning exotic pets.
To me, they're like extra large dogs, but that do weigh 400 pounds, 500 pounds, 600 pounds. And you got to take that into account. When we get animals, we start right away when we get them, no matter if they're 3 weeks old or 6 months old, training them on a leash, teaching them that no, they don't jump on us. No, we're not a play toy. We're here for love and affection and, to move you around. But, we're not going to roughhouse with you and play. We'll give you all the toys you need, give you the playmates or give you the entertainment you need, but not with us.
Those playmates generally come from the local dog rescue and act as companions and teachers to the exotic animals.
Actually, some of the dogs we got are wilder than the tigers because they're actually born in the wild. And a rescue group picks them up and we've rehomed some of them. And they've ended up with either tiger or liger. And part of the reason we do it is, well, first we do it at young, but it gives them a companion, gives them a playmate, and they learn from the dog how to play because the dog won't allow the rough tiger play. So it tones the tiger down a little bit. My worst animal bite was from 2 dogs fighting, and I was breaking it up, and I got in between, and I got bit instead. They have disagreements usually at feeding time, who gets the biggest piece. You'll see that, dogs do that together anyway, and they're very respectful of each other, and the dog is usually the boss.
And it's not just the dogs that come from rescue situations. Some of the animals here have been surrendered by private owners who learned the hard way that keeping an exotic pet is not at all like keeping a domestic dog or cat.
It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. I know it's not for everybody. It's something you got to put a lot of thought in if you go into it. But if you want it, you got to be prepared to deal with a lot of issues. It's not just, I have this animal and it looks great. No, you have this animal and you got to take care of it because they're completely dependent on you.
Scott and Susanna are well aware that taking care of their animals' welfare is a full-time job.
You don't do something like this just because it's a cool thing to do. It's not like I can take 2 weeks off and go to the beach somewhere. No, I got to worry about them being fed, being watered, being clean, veterinary care for any reason. I'm always sore. There's always something to do. Every day's different. It depends on the time of year in the winter because the property is so vast and we have to have water to all the animals. If we have freezing temperatures, check to see if water hoses are broken, if water manifolds are broken. Make sure that animals haven't destroyed something. It's never dull, I can tell you that. We've taken in a lot of animals and we just take them in like you take an animal from the shelter. It just needed a new home and we treat them like a pet.
In fact, Scott and Susanna even take the unusual step of making sure their pets get enough exercise by walking their big cats on leash. It's a practice that most pet owners are very familiar with. But when the animal you're leading weighs between 300 and 600 pounds and is capable of killing you within seconds, it's a risky activity. And when your predator pet is weary of a camera crew, it's a practice that could be life-threatening.
And he's the one that came from Las Vegas Zoo. Yeah. He's an attention hog. He wants to be on camera everywhere. And he's the only one we don't leash walk because they were hands off with him, so he doesn't know what a correction is. And he's just perfectly happy, and he's really easy to move because he'll just follow me anywhere. So put a transport cage up to his enclosure, and he'll walk right in for me. Yeah, you really hate it here, huh, buddy?
The relationship between human and pet takes on life-changing importance when the animals you're dealing with are highly effective predators, with claws sharp enough to sever blood vessels, teeth that can rip through flesh and sinew, and jaws strong enough to crush bones.
Certain people don't want us to have these animals. It's so special that, or so dangerous, I shouldn't have it. Well, are you going to take away my chainsaw too? Because it's so dangerous I shouldn't have it? I understand some of the stuff on the animal welfare issue, but that should be for any animal. You know, don't have one standard for exotic animals and a different for your dog or house cat. It should run across the gamut. Making one animal more special than the other, to me, is wrong. You know, they all should be treated well.
American Humane is an organization dedicated to protecting the welfare of animals. Their focus is on the care of captive exotics more than on the debate over whether or not they should be kept in captivity.
I am not okay with people who take on private exotics that haven't give a lot of thought to what it's going to entail long term, because eventually they're going to run into a problem with resources, with care, with land, with security, and unless you have given a lot of thought to that, you're just not in a position to own an exotic like a tiger. Problem is, with a lot of people here in the US, you have some money, you have some means, you have some curiosity, and you think, I'll take on a tiger and see what happens. But it's not a good deal for the tiger, and sometimes it's not a good deal for the person.
Even those highly experienced with keeping dangerous exotic animals agree that it is not for everybody.
Thing is, can you get a tiger? Yes. Can you get a Ferrari? Yes. Is it for everybody? No. A Ferrari is not a good family car. I don't think a tiger is necessarily a good family pet.
Never. No. And, you know, this is someone who loves the animal, loves the species. In fact, my favorite animal, and I get asked this a lot, it's not a dog, it's a cheetah. So if I could own a big cat, it'd be great, but like for most who own tigers in the US, it's a novelty. They shouldn't own them. You know, they don't deserve that privilege of ownership with these animals. I don't think it's thought through in a lot of cases. No, even with my experience, my expertise, 20 years as a vet, I would not own a tiger.
There are an estimated 10,000 big cats living in captivity in the United States. The majority are privately owned, and in many jurisdictions, people can keep a big cat on the property without reporting it to local officials or even to their neighbors.
People think, you have a tiger, what if it gets out? Well, the fact is, especially with tigers, or any big cat, if they've gotten out, nothing's happened. There's no record of any big cat attacking, much less killing, anybody off the property. It's always on the property, on their territory. More of a case of you, as a person not used to being around tigers, would not know how to react properly if a tiger charged at you. Versus me, is I know what to do, you know, I can break it off in 2 seconds. You will turn and run, and all of a sudden, you know, you have a tiger crawling up your back.
Animal attacks often occur when people react in a way that the animal doesn't understand or simply hasn't seen before.
Like with the wolves, part of their greeting is mouthing. And they'll just come up, you know, put their mouth on your arm. They're not biting down or anything, but if it was anybody else that doesn't know that, they'll yank their arm away, and all of a sudden they got mauled by a wolf, and when the wolf had no intention of doing that.
Animals put in unfamiliar situations are often more afraid of humans than we are of them, and that's when an encounter can become deadly. In other cases, owners are teaching their pets bad habits.
And a lot of it comes from not knowing what they're doing. And some people just do the wrong things in raising them. I remember seeing one video of one guy that used to play tug of war with his tiger at feeding time, you know, play tug of war. Well, his daughter ended up putting her arm in the enclosure, and the tiger did what it was trained to do, played tug of war. And it's instances like that where, you know, the injuries and deaths come along. And the people being injured are the handlers, owners, or people in and around the big cats. And it's very simple. It's sort of like, if you don't want to die by skydiving, don't go skydiving. If you don't want to be injured by a big cat, don't go where the big cats are.
So just why are Scott and Susanna willing to go where the big cats are?
For the love of the animal. There's nothing like it when they come up and seek a reassurance from you. Something makes it nervous. It's like, is it okay? Yeah, yes, it's okay. Yeah, you can go do it. About 95% of what I do it for is for the animal, whichever animal it may be. Some animals are more affectionate to others. You build a stronger relationship with certain ones. The ones you raise from 3 weeks old or the one that you get 4 months old. It's just how the relationship develops.
Australia is made up of 2/3 of desert. It's a harsh place for any animal to survive. This one has adapted perfectly to its environment. The dingo is a carnivore that was introduced from Asia around 5,000 years ago, and it has thrived in Australia ever since. A subspecies of the wolf, they can be seen as a pest by farmers and are known to kill livestock. But can they be a good pet? Dave Graham recognizes the dangers, but has chosen one as his companion. While it's rare to see a pure white dingo, what makes this one even more unusual is that the owner has fallen in love with her.
Do I consider Alice a pet or a best mate? I think she's like my girlfriend. I can't be without her, and I don't think she can be without me. She owes me, she controls me, oh my God. We have some arguments, but she always wins, and she runs the household. She runs everything that we do.
Dave is a farmer and a qualified animal behaviorist from Queensland. And from his experience working with dogs, he totally understands the genetic makeup of the dingo.
A dingo is quite literally a dog that has gone back into a wolf-like state. When they first came to Australia, they went straight back into the bush and have become that wolf-like creature with the 5 elements that all the dogs that we now have been bred out from. Dingoes have everything. They track, that's sniffing out their prey. They stalk their prey, which is where we've now got all of our herding breeds come from. They chase down their prey, which of course is our hunting dogs that we now have. They consume, rip apart their prey. And then of course, they also have that social aspect. They do work together. They really do work in packs. Using their paws, using their teeth, really rip anything apart, and they can get right inside, get the exact part of the animal that they want to eat with the amazing dexterity that these guys have.
Farmers have blamed dingoes for causing large amounts of damage to livestock. As a farmer, Dave has witnessed some of the damage done to his sheep by wild dogs.
When you grow up in the outback on the inside of the dingo fence, you have a difficult relationship with wild dogs. So my entire life, I've always seen wild dogs as an enemy because I've seen the damage that they've done on our livestock, on my sheep. There was some nights that they would come in and take out 90-odd sheep, but not kill them, just rip them apart. And my job, of course, was to come through and put them down in a humane way. And that was always difficult for me to appreciate the beauty of the dingo in the bush, but also the damage that they can bring to our farms.
The dingo fence, the world's longest fence, originally built in the 1880s as a rabbit-proof fence, was converted in the 1940s into a dog barrier to protect sheep and cattle from dingoes. Over 5,000 kilometers long and spread across 3 states, it has been partly successful in stopping dingoes from crossing the border and killing livestock. The dingoes that managed to get through were often shot by farmers as they were considered pests. So how does anyone consider this a safe pet?
It's been a long journey for me to appreciate how beautiful and how valuable dingoes are to our bush, but I'm under absolutely no delusion whatsoever that wild dogs and vulnerable animals mean lots of blood.
There is a contradiction. In his farming life, Dave had to destroy wild dogs that were killing his livestock. Alice was the one dingo that stole his heart.
Alice was found about 3.5 years ago I was on the inside of the dingo fence in the outback of New South Wales, where wild dogs are exterminated. A farmer came across a litter of pups in a den, and as he was putting them all down, after he'd already put the mother down, of course, one of these offsiders, who was a contractor from the city, said, "No, I really want to keep the white one." So he did, and took it back to the city and learned very, very quickly that dingoes are not dogs. You have to be extraordinarily skilled, and you have to have extreme management plans, and also very, very, very good fences to be able to keep a dingo in, because they are wanderers and they don't require human interaction. And that's what allows these relationships to flourish.
In a well-managed situation, it is possible to have an incredible relationship with a dingo, as Dave has with Alice, together with an appreciation of the role of the dingo in the ecology of Australia.
Look, she has 100% trust with me. Yeah, our whole relationship is built on a mutual trust. She knows I won't drop her or hurt her, but it's her favourite thing. Hold her upside down and she's happy. She'll be there for hours, but just loves it. But all dingoes love it. Anyone that has a dingo, that's what you do. You hold them upside down and then they're happy.
Mark from the Armadale Reptile Center looks after two dingoes, Kai and Jay, who were both previously kept as pets. When the owners discovered how much maintenance was required to keep them, Mark agreed to take the dingoes into his care.
This is the great problem with a lot of people with pets. They don't think about it first. They go by feelings, not by their head. You can't just buy them on a whim. They're not like pups. Pups will fit in. They're very, very forgiving. Dingoes aren't really forgiving.
Mark has had to work with the dingoes to gain acceptance from them. In particular, the older dingo, Kai, who is the alpha male, took longer to accept him.
I've had Kai growl at me to start off with. Eventually he accepted me, but I couldn't go near Kai. Jay was fine. He was younger though, he's a little pup. That's the way he acted, but the other one backed off and he growled a little. And when they growl, you stand back. Unless they're humanised, they'll keep away from people. But in areas like Fraser Island where people feed them, they get used to it, and if you don't feed them, they'll attack you.
Fraser Island is a heritage area situated off the coast of Queensland, which has a population of protected dingoes. The public are giving guidelines to be dingo safe while on the island, for very good reason. There have been many cases of people being bitten by dingoes on Fraser Island, including a 9-year-old boy who was fatally attacked in 2001.
Look, what I try and do with Alice is educate people that you need to be respectful of any wild animal in its environment. It's king, and you have to respect it. Don't go near them, don't feed them, don't do anything except for appreciate that they are doing their job by existing in the bush as Australia's apex predator. When you start to feed a wild animal, it's going to start to lose the fear, and then as soon as it loses fear, well, then it's going to look for food when you're not supplying it, and you may come into conflict.
Alice is an albino dingo, and it must be remembered that at her core, she is a pure blood, and there is always a risk that the wolf within could come to the fore, something that Dave never forgets when he takes her into the public domain.
They are predators. There's no two ways about it. They develop their wild instincts as well. One of the ways they show they're being alpha is height. They like to get up above you, looking down on you. As you notice, our fences are 6 foot high and they angle back into the enclosure. That's so they can't climb out, because they can climb a 6 foot fence. They're a wolf. Anything that gets in their enclosure is food. Doesn't matter what it is. A rat runs through or something like that, they'll eat it. A bird flies low, they'll catch it. a young child could upset one and it could snap, and they do have very powerful jaws. They'll kill very quickly, and you can't stop that.
While attacks on humans are relatively uncommon, one of the most well-known dingo attacks occurred in 1980 near Uluru, Central Australia. Lindy Chamberlain, mother of 9-week-old baby girl Azaria, was convicted of her murder. The Chamberlains maintained their baby was taken from their tent by a dingo, and in 1986, following the discovery of Azaria's jacket near a dingo lair, Lindy Chamberlain was immediately released from prison. In 2012, following years of speculation and inquiries, the coroner concluded that the cause of Azaria's death was as a result of being attacked and taken by a dingo.
When you ask people, instantly they think of Lindy Chamberlain, the terrible death of her daughter by the jaws of a dingo. So that's prevalent in people's minds, but I think we do have a love affair with dingoes because they're just so strange, so distant, and so rare. I mean, you would be hard-pressed to find too many Australians that have seen a real dingo in the wild because they naturally just blend into the environment. That's the job, and that's why for hundreds of years of white settlement and of course the thousands of years that they've been here during Aboriginal settlement, they have just inserted themselves into the ecology. But at the same time, these guys are using those jaws every single day to get through life, and when you need to eat to survive, it brings you up against humans because we're growing animals out there, sheep, cattle, goats, pigs, and of course these guys are hunting in that same territory. So we do really have a love-hate relationship in Australia.
Alice has a natural tendency to investigate her surroundings, a trait that's typical of a dingo. She uses her highly tuned senses to great effect around the house. One of the things that makes dingoes different from dogs is that dingoes love to climb. They're up on top of everything, into everything. It doesn't matter how small the surface is. They need to check it out thoroughly and know what's going on in their environment.
Yeah, she loves getting up on top of things, but it's really this super investigation and this crazy brain that just needs to know exactly what's going on. They always look like they're chilled, but I think it's because, well, they've got a lot to think about that they've just investigated, and they're just going through all their different TV shows that they've got inside their head of all the different adventures they've been on.
One could be easily mistaken after seeing Alice's relationship with Dave, that dingoes make an ideal pet. The reality is that Alice is a wild animal, and by her very nature is a predator.
Are we ready? You've been very good sport. I love my dingo, but they do not make good pets. They're a wild animal that belongs in the wild. It's just that at the moment I belong to Alice. They don't bark, which seems great, but they do everything else that could possibly drive you crazy. They shed continuously. Everything gets covered in dingo hair. They get into everything, and of course trying to contain them is almost impossible, but at the end of the day they don't need us. They don't need to be looked after us, and when you've got several hundred breeds of dog to choose from, I'd stick with dogs.
It's clear that dingoes are a high-maintenance animal, and anyone who tries to domesticate one will have limited success. Dave, who has a license to keep Alice, has worked with dingoes for many years and knows what's involved to keep Alice under control for her own safety and the safety of others.
It doesn't matter where I am, Alice will always be tethered to me or tethered to one of my domestic dogs. It's just a case of if she feels that she needs to run off on a trail, she will run off on a trail after a rabbit or after a rat, and she's gone. So I've got to make sure that she is absolutely safe at all times. At the end of the day, she is magnificent. She is an incredible, loving, adorable friend who, she's just so sweet. But you've got to always remember, she's a wild animal. And not that she could turn in any second, not that she's unpredictable, but she is predictable. She will fight to survive, and that's what they've been doing in this country for 5,000 to 8,000 years. So it's not that I don't trust her, it's that I do trust her that one day she could bite and could really do some serious damage.
68% of American households own at least one pet, and many are choosing to own animals that could be considered exotic. The legal definition is subject to local jurisdiction, but generally an exotic pet is one that is rare, unusual, or a wild animal, not typically kept by humans. Often, that's because those animals can be deadly.
It's better to be bitten by an angry snake than a hungry snake, because the hungry snake won't let go for a while. But they're very popular and should not be kept around small children, because the small children are edible.
More than 20 years ago, Ken Foose opened a reptile and exotic specialty store. And it's the type of store that is getting harder to find in the U.S. The animals he sells range from those that can just give you a nasty bite to those that can kill in a matter of minutes.
This is our second largest selling animal. You would think us being a reptile store, it would be all reptiles, but this is a pygmy hedgehog. They're very popular. We sell hundreds of these, and I wouldn't own one if you gave it to me. But we sell a lot of them. It's basically an animated rock.
Regulations around owning exotic pets are different in every state of the U.S. In Nevada, pretty much anything goes.
There's not a lot that we can't have. I mean, I can have a tiger in here for sale. Why would I? I'm not qualified to own a tiger. Most of the people I know are not qualified to own a tiger. It's the same thing with primates. We can sell monkeys here. We can sell chimpanzees. We can sell anything we want. But 99% of the people on this planet are not qualified to own a monkey. Period. And I sold monkeys for 5 years, and I just got tired of looking for that 1%.
Foose's biggest selling pet may not look frightening, but as a carnivore, it certainly can bite. It can also be dangerous to the environment, and that's why it's illegal to own one across the border in California. You can own a snake, a tiger, or even a bear, but you can't own a ferret. Many of Ken's customers are committing an offense when taking their new furry pets across the state line from Nevada. But Ken is very careful that he doesn't break the law when selling animals, including ferrets. He even plays a role in lobbying government to ensure that regulations surrounding the keeping of exotic and dangerous pets are relevant for both animals and owners.
My biggest concern with keeping dangerous reptiles and amphibians, I'm talking about rattlesnakes, large constrictors like him, or something that is potentially life-threatening. If someone comes in here and buys a rattlesnake from me, I of course quiz them. How are you doing this? Where do you live? I ask them where you live, because in the county, they're not gonna let you have one. In the city of Las Vegas, you're required to have a permit. And I wrote the regulations for the permit. If you live down the street and you said you were qualified to keep a rattlesnake, I'll sell it to you. And if you die, or your wife dies, or your kids die, or your dog dies because of the snake, I don't care. Your choice, I don't care. If the 3-year-old girl living 3 doors down in her backyard gets bit by the snake because it escaped from your house, that I care about. And the reason is, people die from hamster bites. People die from all kinds of animals.
And when you accept the risk that comes with owning an exotic animal, you've accepted the risk. Animal ownership laws and regulations are constantly changing, and Ken's whole team are passionate about supporting animal owners' rights.
They went from, we were able to keep any size snake really, to, okay, well now you can keep a snake that's typically under 12 feet, but you need to have this permit and this, and the permit's the same as where you would own a sloth, or, hi buddy, or anything bigger that requires bigger space. I have to sit there and notify every one of my neighbors. I have to measure from my front door to the edge of my street, from the back door to the edge of the street, the back door to my fence line. It's just government overreach, wanting to know everything that you keep in your house and why you're keeping it. And it's something that we fight for. I mean, all of us that are passionate fight for and come together and try to make sure that those laws don't pass.
Staff member Georgia has 48 reptiles, including several ball pythons, a reticulated python, a couple of boas, some iguanas, some red-footed tortoises, a water monitor, and that's not all.
9 ferrets, the genet, 5 dogs, 3 cats, and a bunch of rats.
Like many exotic pet owners, Georgia's life would be turned upside down by more restrictive animal laws.
I think I would do my best to move because I wouldn't want to give up. That's like my thing. That's, I love them all, so I would leave.
As fun as ferrets may be, they'd be easy prey for many of the other animals in Ken Foos's store. Though Nevada has strict ideas about which snakes locals are allowed to keep as pets. Only venomous snakes native to Nevada and rear-fanged snakes are allowed to be kept in the state. There are 2 types of venomous snake. Those that inject venom through fangs in the front of their mouths, like rattlesnakes or cobras, and those with fangs at the back of their mouths. They chew the venom into their prey. And then there are the snakes that can literally squeeze the life out of you.
All right.
What are you pulling out here?
This is a tiger reticulated python. It's about 15 feet long. Air gas grabbed the other end of this. My back won't handle this. They do very well in captivity. Like I said, the only real downside to them is they get too big. If a snake like this bites you, you're gonna know it, and you'll bleed. They're not deadly. They won't kill you, but they'll hurt you a little bit.
And snakes aren't the only creatures in store with a venomous bite.
This is a beaded lizard. They come from Mexico and Central America. They are venomous. They've got these venom glands in their lower jaw, and they don't have fangs, but they have very, very sharp, jagged teeth. They're actually really easy to keep, and they're generally pretty mellow. But it's also the excitement. You've got a beaded lizard. They, there's something romantic about having one.
Beaded lizards can grow to 3.5 feet long and are related to the Gila monster. They're the only 2 venomous lizards in the world and can deliver an extremely painful bite.
They just tend not to let go. They will hang on to you forever. There is no anti-venom for this. They won't kill you. Years ago, we had someone break into one of the cages and stole one of our beaded lizards. And it was a baby. It was about 4 inches long. And he put it in his pocket. As he reached into the cage to grab it, he got bit. And then when he put it in his pocket, he got bit again. And ended up going to the hospital. So he recovered. He made a full recovery, and in fact came into the store about a year later and stole something else from us. But we caught him that time. But they're very, very cool, and people like them because they're a novelty. They're different. They're not lethal. It's not an animal that can kill you. It's almost like the throat. Same thing. There's a lot of people that keep rattlesnakes and cobras and things like that. And I think it's just the novelty of it. People that just really like venomous reptiles. I can understand it. I don't own any myself, but I used to. And there's kind of a thrill there, and they're very, very neat.
And it's not just venomous reptiles that people consider exciting pets. Arachnids, better known as scorpions and spiders, are also a popular, if not unusual, companion. Nothing elicits as much fear in so many as the spider. Yet, Exotic Pets staff member Gaz has been fascinated with them from a young age.
I was about 8 years old, and my first pet was 2 leopard gecko lizards. And then after that, it was a tarantula, a rose hair, Yeah, so they were my first kind of pets, and then like my mum didn't like snakes, so I got a corn snake from a friend of mine, and I had to keep it hidden. I had it hidden for a year before my mum found out.
The largest of the spiders, tarantulas, may appear deadly, but their venom won't kill you. That's not to say that their large fangs won't cause some damage, or that their venom is completely harmless.
You know, there's certain species of tarantulas that it's not recommended to handle. Like some of the old world species, like the Poecilotheria. You know, they're, you know, from like India, Sri Lanka, those areas. They've got a pretty potent venom. It's going to make you feel pretty rough for a few days if you get bitten by one of those. That's a Goliath bird eater. Now they are very big fangs, and very aggressive, so it's really not recommended to hold those guys.
Large fangs and potent venom aren't a tarantula's only means of inflicting pain on their human owners. As a defense mechanism against larger predators, many species of tarantulas flick tiny hairs off their abdomen. These hairs can irritate the eyes, nose, and even the lungs.
So this is a New World species, so they've got these urticating hairs, which is their first line of defense, is to flick these hairs. So they're a little bit docile, you know, so they're not prone to bite. Their first line of defense is to flick hairs, so I wonder if it'll do it. See how he's rubbing his back legs now against his abdomen? That flicks up these hairs. So he's a bit of a hair flicker, but usually his species is not too bad. Oh yeah, they've got fangs, and you know, they've got venom, just like all spiders.
There are more than 1,700 different types of scorpion, though only about 20 of them have venom powerful enough to kill a person. The most dangerous scorpion, the Indian red, could kill you within 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was stung by an emperor and an Asian. I was just being foolish, you know. But yeah, they're actually a really easygoing.
Don't threaten them, and they do pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, the things with these, you want to be more worried about their pinch than the sting. Their pinch is really hard and they don't let go.
They'll make you bleed.
Yeah, they'll make you bleed, man. It's real hard. But their sting, like I said, I got stung by them. Once again, it was like a wasp sting. You know, a little bit of irritation for about 30 minutes, and that's it.
As long as you don't, because that's a big stinger. See the stinger in there? It's like a nail going into your hand.
And it's not just teeth and fangs you have to watch out for. Many of the animals Cann sells can hurt you in more than one way.
There's a risk to anything. I mean, it's like I said before, it doesn't matter whether it's a hamster. There's always an inherent risk. Of course, we would tell people this is a rear-fanged snake, be careful. But beyond that, this is another animal that could never hurt you. The venom is not strong enough to do more than like localized swelling. The snakes, the animals that I have in here, quite frankly, that hurt you the most are things like these. Claws. It's the teeth and the jaws and the claws. These are not from snake bites. These are from these animals' toenails. Now these, the key thing here, there we go. The key thing with these things is you control the legs. And that way you don't bleed. This is what I call tame. When they first came in, there's no way I could hold them like this. I would be bleeding all over the place. I've never seen one try to bite, but they rip you to pieces with these very sharp claws.
So many of the animals in Cann's store have bites that can rip skin or inject venom, or claws that can draw blood. Why would anyone want to own them?
They're just such cool animals, you know? It's just, you know, I've always found them fascinating. From the tiniest of little, like, common house spiders, you know? It's just beautiful. They're just fascinating animals, man. I've always been fascinated by them.
It's the thrill. It's why do people race cars or hang glide? Everybody has their own adrenaline fix and that they've chosen, and this is a lot of people, this is it.
And for as long as there is a demand for exotic pets, Cann Foose and his team will continue to fight for the rights of animal owners to keep them.
Not everyone should keep a lizard, not everyone should keep a dog or a cat or even a mouse.
Why would anyone have the big python or have this or have that? And I'm like, people jump out of perfectly good airplanes every day. Why? Are you going to ban skydiving? And a lot of these legislators say they're trying to protect us from ourselves. Well, if you're going to protect us from ourselves, ban smoking, or ban drinking, or ban skydiving, or kart racing, or football. There's a lot of stuff we do to hurt ourselves, and we do it on purpose. So it makes absolutely no sense to ban something that actually as benign as this.
Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the US alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow.
They have a very strong compressive bite. They have the capacity to lacerate your skin and bite parts of you off.
Wolves are natural predators, and working with them is not for the faint-hearted. Chris Edrington from Steve Martin's Working Wildlife trains wolves for film and television.
We supply animals for the entertainment industry. I used to call it the film industry, but that's sort of antiquated. It's work in front of a camera where someone is paying us to film an animal that's part of content that somebody else is selling. I would say 90% of the work that I personally do is in front of a camera that way. Mark, stay. Stay. Good boy. Depending on the economy, sometimes 10% of the work or more will be event related. America's funny that people have disposable income and somebody occasionally wants a lion at their party or a wolf or a baby animal of some kind. These are gray or timber wolves, and name is interchangeable. They come in different colors, dark like these two, or gray like the other one who's wandering around. We have one that's sort of a lighter color too. These particular guys, their bloodline is from North America.
Chris's most famous animal pupils starred in the iconic movie Dances with Wolves. The movie's wolf character, Two Socks, was actually played by two different wolves, Buck and Teddy, who looked so similar only their trainers could tell them apart.
Those wolves lived here. The owner actually had to double the actor Kevin Costner for a couple scenes where they interacted. This group of wolves here, we've done True Blood, Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf. We did 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, and then a bunch of other movies.
Have the card.
Chris has worked with a variety of dangerous animals, and while he makes them seem quite safe and friendly, wolves remain wild predators.
I've enjoyed everything I work with. I work a little bit with our tiger. It's a solitary animal, and I like it, but I like these guys a lot. They give you love. All animals show some emotion, but wolves show love more than any other animal. You'd have to be devoid of a consciousness not to see that and see how they show that to you. It's quite wonderful. Hello, my love. Come on. Come here.
Training wolves is about making the animals familiar with the human world rather than teaching them clever tricks.
Quite frankly, as an animal trainer, I find I don't spend so much time training an animal, but habituating it to the odd things that occur in society. And on a movie set, we have booms and flags and all sorts of things that aren't natural, so we have to get our animals used to that. We have to get them used to loading in a truck or a trailer or whatever cage if we have to go on an airplane. And we try to make that so it's normal and not stressful.
Going into a pen with wolves is dangerous, and no matter how close an owner is to their animals, there will always be a risk.
The two black guys here are a part of an older group. When we got them, we had a lot of film projects at the time, and they worked a lot, and we just happened to build a really good rapport. The other wolf, he's just 2, and so he hasn't worked quite as much, and I don't have as good a rapport with him as these guys. I can still work with him. If a filmmaker wants to shoot with him, we'll go do whatever we have to. But these guys have known me better, and I've done more with them, and we've traveled more places. And they're older, too, so they know that I'm the source of fun more. He's a young punk. In a couple more years, he might be standing over here because he knows that the rubs are good, and maybe we'll go for a walk out into the universe.
Dog trainer and canine behavioral specialist Michael Chill is known for his expertise with wolves and wolf behavior.
Dogs absolutely evolved from wolves, and they share 99.9% of the same genetic makeup. They can interbreed and make fertile offspring, so that's really, from a species perspective, that proves a close relation. Our adult dogs have the similar behavior to a 5-month-old wolf. Our adult dogs are social with strange dogs, typically, are still eager to learn, have a prey drive, but not a serious enough one to really do that much hunting and killing. Our wolves evolve beyond that. Once they become adults, they will accept their own family members, but they're highly aggressive to outside wolves with which they are unfamiliar. They are quite adept predators. They're highly territorial. So when we then go back to the wild to try to redo this and take a wild animal into captivity, we do not have in a wolf a dog with an exotic look. We have a wild predator.
Despite the dangers, extreme animal owners often push the envelope.
Hello, baby boy.
And not only do R.C. and Sharon Bridges keep a bison as a pet, they also keep and breed wolves and wolf dogs.
We do sell our wolves. We have so many people that really enjoy them. And a lot of them, they do make house pets out of them. We have lots of happy customers.
And one person said you can't keep a wolf in the house, and Sharon replied back, we keep a buffalo in our house.
Yeah.
Don't tell me we can't keep a wolf in the house.
Yeah.
The most worried I was one time, we had wolf puppies. And of course, when they're born, the mamas are real protective. And she come running, and I knew I was fixing to get tore up by her, because she's been real aggressive toward me ever since she had the puppies. And when she come after me, I grabbed her and threw her on the ground and held her down. And then she was growling and stuff, but anyway, I just backed off and she was fine.
Wolves live by a strict and ruthless social order, and owners must establish themselves as the pack leader or risk a vicious alpha challenge.
R.C., of course, as the dominant male of the family, he takes charge, and whenever he feels like he's comfortable with me jumping in, because he won't let me jump in and do anything without his okay first.
The way we do them, we keep 2 to 3 in a pen, and we never have any problem with them. We do have an alpha problem occasionally, and I got rid of a female lately because she was causing too many fights.
I raise these guys, and because of how I've worked with them, I think they view me as the top dog. They live in a sort of interesting structure. Biologists tell us that an alpha male and an alpha female will form. And basically what that means is the dominant pair will be the only one that will be allowed to breed. And nature is really cruel. Sometimes the other ones breed, but if they have a successful litter, the alpha male and female will just kill it. The way we raise them, these are very nice, but they're still, you can't take the jungle out of the boy. Nature designs them to be a certain way, and they're wild animals. Therein lies the difference between a domestic dog and this wolf. Even though this guy is just rolling on his back and I'm rubbing his belly, he's still a dangerous animal.
With a bite that can break bones, wolves may look just like exotic dogs, but can they make good pets?
I work with them all the time. I see them every day. No, they're horrible pets. I would never bring one to my house because I know they would be enthralled by my leather couch and they would perforate it with holes. They would rip up my carpet. They would tear down my blinds. I have faith that they would do that. I might be able to get them not to do that when I'm there, but if I walk away, I have faith that they will completely destroy everything when I'm not there. Conversely, when I've had domestic dogs, I train them so that I could trust them. We've basically trained our wild animals not only to behave, but just to be able to convey safely around society. But yeah, no, the wild animals I work with, I would never recommend as having as a pet.
Well, personally, for me and RC both, for us, I think it's great. But it's, with these kind of animals, it's not meant for just anybody to pick up and say, okay, I want to make them a pet. You have to be really dominant. You have to be their leader. If you're not going to be top charge, then no, then they're not going to be safe for a pet.
In spite of the danger, many, including RC and Sharon, still believe that a 100-pound predator can make a good house pet.
We bring all the wolves in the house. You know, we play with them, take pictures with them. Certain ones we'll let the grandkids play with. There's some of them that we won't let the grandkids play with. Ours make a good pet. Just like all animals, depending on how they're raised from beginning, really, is what makes good pets.
When I got in the wolf business, I thought I had a mean animal coming to me. And it wound up being the sweetest animal I've ever been around. And we always hear the stories about the big bad wolf. They're just unbelievably a gentle animal. I do think they're dangerous when you let them run in a pack.
I find you get what you put out. Conversely, if you have a child, a human, and you put it in a closet and 10 years later open the door, what are you going to have? If you have a bear or a lion or a wolf and you raise it appropriately and you get it used to the trappings of humanity and you take it everywhere and you teach it things and you love it, you will have a great animal that's capable of safely operating with other people in human society.
Don't let their looks deceive you. Wolves may resemble the family dog, but they are an apex predator, capable of taking down large prey and causing serious physical injury and even death.
If you're going to house a wolf and they were able to live in a wilderness area and come back to visit, but they certainly weren't put in a captive situation, that's kind of ideal. My wolves became my wolves because people thought they could turn them into dogs with proper training and found out the hard way, doesn't work. You cannot train a wolf to be a dog.
The debate about whether circuses keeping exotic animals in captivity is right or wrong is gathering momentum. And circuses themselves are in a situation where they're having to consider their future and how their life could change. Regardless of your position on the subject, circuses are still traveling from town to town, entertaining enthusiastic audiences. Would that all change if the exotic animals were no longer there? Jan is the matriarch of the Stardust Circus, which tours around Australia with exotic animals as part of the show. Her family has been working with the animals for generations.
Really a family affair, the whole circus. There are 28 people on, counting all the babies, of course.
This circus is family run, and most of them have grown up working with exotic animals. It's a life they've always known, and they treat their animals as part of their family.
It's a pretty good life, really.
But what's it like to work in a circus with exotic animals?
We have the only 2 remaining circuses in Australia now with exotic animals, and we have both. We have 6 lions, 5 monkeys, and that's all in the way of exotics. The others are pigs, goats, dogs, horses. These animals have been born and bred in captivity, so they don't know any other life. So it's not like they've been plucked from the wild and suddenly they're, living this life. It's not that at all. And people don't seem to understand that. They seem to like the life they've got. I guarantee that. The wild isn't as great as what people make it out to be either.
In the wild, a lion can live up to 14 years. But at the circus, the lions can live up to 25 years without the stresses that come from living in their natural habitat.
Yeah, we treat them like family. They are our family. When we move to each place, they come first. They're set up before anything else. So to make sure they've got all their comforts of home, and even to the point if it's a hot day, the lions have their air conditioners turned on, and if not, they lay out in their yard and snooze all day, and they have a bit of a life of luxury here. They don't do any hard work of any sort. And they don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from.
The circus is regularly inspected by the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals to ensure they comply with all the necessary regulations.
A lot of councils have banned the grounds for exotics because the animal liberationists tell them so many lies about what we do to our animals, which doesn't happen at all. And they can make up some doozies of, believe me, some of the stories they tell them. And because we'd be in jail if we did half of what they tell them.
Jan has bred several lions over the life of the circus, which has provided an interesting story to the taxman.
We had cubs living in a caravan. They had a little bed under the table. And I'd say to them, righto, go to bed. I had some paperwork on the table. And my husband had the tax return sitting on there. Well, it fell down under the table and it got all chewed up by the cubs. We had to send it in like it was, put it in with a little note that these were chewed up by lions, you see. And so I was singing after it. I bet they thought, no, we've heard everything now, every excuse in the book. This one will take the cake.
Public safety and the safety of the lions is a high priority for the circus. And there's a double fence around the lions area for added protection.
We have barricades around and all that, and the lions do get locked away at night. We have security right around them with the caravans, so our own people are there all the time, 24 hours a day. And we very rarely ever have anybody come around that want to get in with the lions. If they do, they probably get eaten. No, I'm joking. They'll probably lick them to death.
The lions can be found lazing about in a large fenced-off grassed area to the rear of the big top, oblivious to the debate surrounding them. With social change, circuses are now under intense pressure from animal welfare groups that say it's cruel to keep animals in captivity, that they shouldn't be kept in small cages.
This is the cages that they can't turn around in. They're not big enough, aren't they, Glenn? They can't turn around in these. Cramped up in this. Some of it's funny. If it wasn't so stupid, it'd be funny, but they come out with some weirdo things.
These lions have lived like this since they were born at the circus. They have never been in the wild, so this is the only life they know. They are well looked after and safe from other predators and human encroachment to their natural habitat. Matt has worked with the lions since they were cubs, so they have built up an amazing level of trust. He spends up to an hour a day with them, training and the occasional cuddle. You can sense Matt has a special bond with his lions. His partner, Winona, is well aware of the dangers Matt faces every time he goes into the ring with the cats.
I feel like he's pretty safe, but it still is a bit of a worry. They are lions, so, you know, you never really know. Hopefully he's aware at all times of what's going on, so he's, you know, they do love him, but, you know, sometimes you just never know with animals.
Matt has total respect for the lions in his care, and he knows when he enters the training area, there are 6 lions moving around him. He knows he can never drop his guard around these powerful predators.
When you're working with lions, especially if there's more than one in a cage, you need to make sure you know where they all are at all times. You need to know what they're looking at and where their focus is on. Their body language is a big thing, so the ears twitching and tail twitching, stance, if they're ready to pounce, if they're not ready to pounce, you know, pretty relaxed. So you just got to watch their eyes. Their eyes is a big thing. Usually you can tell from their eyes what they're thinking. So he's pretty relaxed. He's just watching Bart over there at the moment. But they're all pretty good. They all have their own personalities and moods, and sometimes they're in a good mood and sometimes they're not. And as long as you are paying attention, it's pretty safe.
Hello, boy. He's beautiful.
There is a lot of trust between the lions and Jan. Putting your hand inside a lion's cage is something that Jan doesn't recommend.
I wouldn't let any strangers do that. We know them pretty well and how far you could go with them. If they were not in a really flash mood, I wouldn't do it, but that's very rare. But now and again, just the other 2 bigger males will have a bit of a barney with each other about who's going to be the boss of the females. They are beautiful, gentle animals, and you would probably trust any animal, no more than about 95%, but they're just like a dog even. Who knows if a dog could ever turn.
So far, the lions have been relaxed, but there is a change in mood in the training area between 2 of the males, and we get a glimpse of what lions are capable of.
There's always that very, very, very slight chance, very slight. But so far, they've been really good. Hey! So what I mean, then they get the barney over the girl that. Hey! Stop it! Oi! Stop it! Oi! Hey! Stop it! Stop it! I have a little barney every now and again. They don't do any damage to each other. Just for something to do, I think.
After the dust has settled and the brief altercation is over, the victor lies next to the female, while the jilted male looks across. Today, mating season has a winner and a loser.
He's a pretty good-natured lion, Hulk is. Very, very calm and relaxed usually. Not much scares him, so that's always a good thing. Some lions are very jumpy, which makes it hard to work with. Usually if they're like this, it's fine, but it doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. Something could get their attention out there and they could just run to chase that, or you know, someone could bite him on the bum while I'm playing with him. So I've got to be ready for everything. You right there, buddy? You right there, bud? You right there, mister? Yeah, you big goofball. You big goofball, ain't you? Yeah, you big goofball.
Not everyone agrees that keeping exotic animals in captivity is good for the animals. But Jan maintains they have a good life and are treated as part of the family.
Well, this is their air conditioning unit, so on a very hot day, the air conditioning goes on, so they're, boom, up into there and sprawled out. They've got little ledges and shelves up in there too that they sleep on. They like to go high.
We hand raise them. They live in Glenn's caravan for the first 6 months. My wife can't handle the smell. So Glenn gets the first 6 months, which is waking up at 3 in the morning to bottle feed, and it's just like having a baby. And then they start tearing up the furniture. And the first probably year we trained out here in the yard just to get all the basics down, like staying on the pedestal and stuff like that. So we train out here so anybody can come and watch. Every day, it's just playtime in here. Here's just neutral ground, you know. In there, I'm the boss, we do the jobs, and out here is playtime, so. It's all reward-based, so they know what to do, and they're always wanting to do it before I ask them to, instead of waiting for their turn. So They really want to do it. It's just getting the weight is the hard bit. So they eat out of my hand, usually some nice fresh horse or something. And if they're full, they don't want it, and if they're too hungry, they'll take your hand with it. So you got to sort of keep them at that stage where they're not hungry, but they're not too full to eat.
You can never underestimate the power of one of the largest felines in the world. In the wild, they work together to hunt their prey. Lionesses do most of the hunting for the pride, each having different roles and working together efficiently to bring down their prey, using their vice-like jaw to snap the victim's neck and drag it to the ground. The lions might be the resident stars of the circus, but the rhesus macaque monkeys are another exotic that looks cute at first sight, but can attack if they don't know you.
Oh, it's beautiful, boys. It's a beautiful boy. Is he one beautiful boy? The two in this cage are the youngest two that we've got. But they don't take kindly to strangers. They're not an animal that anyone could get in with or anything. Don't get too close to them. They'll grab your glasses off. They're a bit naughty. Especially the people they don't know, more so.
We have 5 now. 2 of them really love me. The other 3, they like me, but not as much as the 2. I have trained Cleo to do hand balancing, so I work Cleo in the show.
Some might say it's cruel to make animals perform tricks, but they are never forced to do them. And if they don't want to do it, they'll soon let their trainer know.
They do bite, but everyone knows when they're out, just to make sure they keep away from the people who can't handle them.
According to Matt, rhesus macaque monkeys are charismatic, but they also have a vicious streak. So you need to think on your feet when working with them.
So you just got to sort of work with whatever they're willing to put out. They have a short attention span also, so you can't work too long with them. So when you're training, you do a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, and they'll tell you when they're fed up, and so you move on to something else. They get bored pretty quick. This is Cleo. She's an 11-year-old rhesus macaque. She's the baby. The monkeys are good. There's always like a attitude from them, so it gives you something to deal with. And they only like a couple of people usually, so they get attached to a couple of people, and everybody else is sort of, you know, fair game. Cleo here is she's pretty smart. She knows how to undo the clip on her collar. So sometimes in the show when we have to, in between tricks, she does just has to wait. And sometimes if you're not watching, she'll unclip herself, go to the table, get a treat, and then head back home, put herself away again. Millie, the one in here that stays with Cleo, she's got a lot of attitude. She's willing to attack anybody, really. She's just full on. Family more than pets. Yeah, they're part of the family. They get all the best of everything.
The average macaque can grow up to 2 feet high and weigh up to 15 pounds. It's a small package, but when aggressive, nasty bites and the risk of disease are consequences of getting too close.
Well, they're not really wild. They've been with us their whole life, but there is still the instinct in there. Animals don't think like humans. You know, that's where the people go wrong. Animals have their own thought processes and their own way of doing things. So to us, like something we would think is nice, they think is you just letting them do whatever they want.
It's showtime, and the exotics are preparing to make an appearance to their adoring public. There are preparations that need to happen in the ring to make sure everyone is safe.
Please welcome here into the Steel Arena, Star Circus, Australian born and bred, Performing Lions!
Cann and her family enjoy sharing these animals with the public. But today's circuses are finding themselves going through a transition, deciding if they will continue including exotic animals as part of the show or need to bend to the pressures of social change to stop keeping animals in cages. These could be the last of the lions at this circus. They will not be breeding any more of them, so once these unique animals have retired, it is unlikely there will be any bred lions thrilling the audience. Time will tell as to how circuses with exotic animals will evolve under the big top in the years to come. Located in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California, the small city of Big Bear Lake is a popular holiday destination. The region draws thousands of tourists, and its picturesque surroundings have been used as locations for many Hollywood classics, including Daniel Boone, Gone with the Wind, and even Disney's Old Yeller. But Big Bear Lake is also known as the location of a much more shocking filming project. The tranquil mountains of Big Bear are a world away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. They're also home to the well-known Hollywood animal trainer and stuntman, Randy Miller. Randy's company, Predators in Action, specializes in location and studio-trained exotic animals.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely built Predators in Action with no fear. We still do push the envelope, but back in the day, we really pushed the envelope. And I mean in every way. It could be a stunt, doing a staged attack, or even just a simple model shoot with a tiger crawling on a girl that the cat's never seen before. We did things back then we probably wouldn't do today.
Drawn to animals from a young age, Randy's family was in the seltzer business, and during the 80s, he helped turn the family business into a $100 million a year company. He lived an extravagant lifestyle and used his successful business fortune to indulge his childhood dream of owning big cats, bears, and other exotic animals.
Back in the day, I had great resources to, accommodate these types of animals and to just to get the permits and permission to have them. Basically have them with me wherever I go. And that's really what I did. We built a house in the Hollywood Hills with a 3-story glass cage. It was designed, for big exotic animals. I didn't have any animals live there full time. I had a place out in the desert where I kept all my animals. And I used to bring them in to visit while I was in Hollywood, just so I could always have my animals around.
When the family business went bankrupt, Randy was forced to find another way to both earn a living and keep his dangerous pets. He turned his eccentric hobby into a career and began supplying big cats, grizzly bears, and wolves for big-budget Hollywood movies and high-rating TV shows. His signature stunt was the staged attack, where his animals staged realistic but harmless attacks. He created a unique and potentially life-threatening product.
My staged attack was not taught. Nobody teaches you that. It was developed back in those days, like in that house with that glass cage. I used to wrestle my animals and play with them. I mean, the reason I used to wrestle and play with my animals was because of the joy I got out of it and the fun it was. But the animals bond so much stronger when you have that kind of interaction. They just do. I mean, the key to an animal's heart is to play and have fun. And those lions and tigers, bears, they love to wrestle and play. So I think most of us wrestle and play with younger animals. As they get older, it becomes much more dangerous. My whole staged attack developed out of playing with these animals as they matured and just learning how to control it.
Years of high-risk training with ferocious carnivores yielded the ultimate Hollywood payoff when Miller won a Stunt Academy Award for his role as Russell Crowe's stunt double during the tiger attack scenes in the blockbuster movie Gladiator.
Once I focused on doing film work with these animals, and I really focused on training them to be in movies, that's what we were training for, was that scene, not even knowing it. But I mean, I would say our whole career put us there. That tiger was raised its whole life to play out all that action you see in that scene. You know, the lunging, the jumping, the snarling, and that staged attack. I got bit on that show. There were a lot of staged attack scenes, and it required a lot of takes, over and over. Attacks from the back, attacks from the front. While filming one of those attack scenes, Tara, the tiger I was using, ended up grabbing the wardrobe, which was leather. So she grabbed it, and, you know, she got possessive over it, is what happened. And she ended up biting. She tried to take it from me, and she bit through it and put a hole in my arm. So at that time, they cut and said, hey, we got it, done. Went, undressed, got out of wardrobe. They bandaged up my arm, and then a PA comes in and says, hey, the main camera broke. We don't know when the film actually broke, so we got to go out and refilm all that. Like the special effects camera. They got me back out there, they put a steel plate over the wound, and we started doing it again. And the only reason I was able to continue doing that attack after getting bit pretty bad was I understood why she bit me. You know, she wasn't really biting me. She didn't go after me out of anger. She went after the wardrobe and got possessive over it.
Between 1990 and 2011, there were over 300 incidents involving captive big cats in the U.S. 20 people were killed. Over the same time, captive bears killed 6 and injured 61. Working alongside predators is never 100% safe for the humans involved. American Humane is responsible for making sure that the work is safe for the animals.
Our job is really just to make sure it's done well. Our primary mission is to oversee, basically police, the care, the safety, the humane treatment of the animals while they're on set. The others want to debate whether it's philosophically okay to use these animals. So when I'm asked, you know, should these animals be used, look, we could sit here for 3 hours, 4 hours, and probably not arrive to a decent answer. But when I tell you, look, my job is to make sure that the animals that are participating, are being used in these environments, are cared for properly, that is really our job and our mission.
Big cats, grizzly bears, and wolves are popular movie stars, and they're all capable of removing human limbs in seconds. Even a monkey can cause serious lacerations and injury. Strict safety protocols are always in place, but when dealing with unpredictable natural predators, safety measures aren't always 100% effective.
You know, on the good sets, in my experience, on the controlled film sets that hire the right people, who care for their animals, who've had the time, put in the time to train them properly and go through all the preventative measures. In instances like that, I think it's very safe. I think it's very controlled and safe. Now, as it often is, it comes down to hiring the right people, right? Getting the right team around you. Because if you get someone who doesn't have the experience, you're gonna be in trouble.
One thing with my line of work, we have developed one of the best safety protocols there is. I mean, you need a fast plan if something goes wrong. And we all learned, even with that, the ultimate price can get paid, you know? These animals are capable of taking somebody's life in a matter of seconds. So my position, knowing that, anybody handling these animals, not just owning these animals, but working around these animals, should have the education and experience to participate in stopping or helping save somebody's life if there's an accident or an attack taking place.
Many exotic pet owners raise their animals from babies, building a strong bond and creating a sense of trust. It can be easy to forget that such majestic and affectionate creatures can also be ruthless killers.
There could be a false sense of security there where you believe it's safer than it really is.
Fire department emergency, how can I?
Hi, fireman with the transfer. She's at Onyx Summit.
We're at Rainbow Lane.
Off Rainbow Lane. He's bleeding from his neck heavily. Hold on, ma'am. She's at Onyx Summit off of Rainbow Lane. There's a bear. We think it's an animal attack.
Okay.
Yes, or a bear attack. A bear attack.
Until you've experienced, what can happen, how fast things can change, you don't really have a clue. And unfortunately, it takes a tragic, accident to really experience what I'm talking about.
A bear attack, okay.
He's bleeding heavily from his neck. We're trying to get him into the car. We need someone here immediately.
And you do this long enough. I know people that have been doing this for generations, and you talk to guys that have been doing this for a long time, we've all experienced something.
In 2008, Randy's cousin, Stephen Miller, was fatally wounded while shooting a promotional video at Randy's Big Bear property. Stevie's co-star and killer was a 700-pound, 7.5-foot grizzly bear named Rocky. The attack was swift and completely unexpected.
We weren't ready for what happened. That's how fast it is. That's how fast it can happen. I mean, if you actually time it, once it started, it was like 3.5 seconds. It all happened really fast. So we stopped it, and actually Stevie appeared to be okay. We later learned it was a fatal bite, one single bite.
5-year-old Rocky had been trained to wrestle humans and was best known for his appearance as Dewey the Killer Bear in the 2008 film Semi-Pro.
Stevie wanted to wrestle Rocky. He had experience in the past. Rocky was a great candidate for wrestling somebody that, wasn't doing it all the time. The authorities deemed it an accident based on the injuries. They could tell by the injuries what type of attack or bite took place. They ruled it a single bite in Rocky's case.
Although that single bite left a profound scar on Randy, incredibly, he still lives with and cares for Rocky the Bear.
A lot of people love animals and say they love animals, but some people, like myself, love them so much they have to be with them. And I think that's the difference. It's easy for somebody to criticize what we do, but they may not have that same desire. I know from experience, I have that desire. That's more important to me than anything else. Keeping my animals, caring for my animals' welfare. I mean, that's what got me into what I do. It really is. It started out as a hobby, and it turned into a profession. You hear about an animal that attacks somebody that had never, had an incident in the past until that moment. And that was the moment with Rocky.
Working so closely with these types of animals, owners develop a close relationship with an animal that, in the wild, would see them as prey. Perhaps surprisingly, American Humane's Quan Stewart sees that bond as beneficial for the animals too.
This gets into a very big ethical debate. Should these exotics be in film? And, if you have the right people with the right expertise, it can provide the right long-term care for these animals. Yes, I think it's okay. A lot of these animals are domesticated at a very young age. They're used to human contact. They enjoy human contact.
I mean, there's a reward there, especially with a creature that could take your life in a matter of seconds. Maybe part of that starts, from the adrenaline rush you get with it, but there's a lot more to it than that. There really is. These animals do show affection. And exotic cats, I've always said, are the most affectionate creatures on Earth. And they are. They will sit with you for hours showing affection. I mean, they're moody, and that's what makes them dangerous. It's kind of like a dog, where they're very friendly and fun. And it usually takes a while before you see their instincts come out, but eventually they will. And all these animals get possessive And it might be something you didn't see until that moment. And when they get like that, it doesn't matter how much they love you, they'll kill you over anything. It's just in their instincts. It's just in their DNA.
Today, Randy remains close to his collection of unusual and dangerous pets. 7 big cats and several bears, including Rocky.
I can tell you this, if you put somebody near one of these animals, there is a chance something could go wrong. There is.